And welcome. I'd like to call to order the September 21st, 2020 Old Bridge Township Council meeting. Please rise for a pledge of allegiance. Please remain standing for a moment of silence and our prayer. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As customary in this chamber, we stand for a moment to remember those who are protecting our freedoms, both here and abroad, for our first responders, and for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. A moment of silence, please. Our prayer, Mr. Pasquitti.
Dear Lord, bless thy servants in the ministry of public affairs who serve thee in this chamber. Give us quiet minds and hearts that we may hear your voice. Help us to know when to speak, when to be silent. Give us strength to oppose the wrong and uphold the right, and grant that we have a good conscience and soul at peace with you and with one another. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please be seated and welcome everyone.
This meeting is being held in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been given to the newspaper, and notice of the meeting has been posted in public places. Next open public meeting of the council will be held on Monday, October 5th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. Mrs. Brown. Mr. De Palma.
Here.
Dr. Greenberg.
Here.
Mr. Merwin.
Present.
Mr. Murphy. Here. Mr. Pasquetti.
Here.
Mr. Rizzoli.
Here.
Mrs. Walker.
Here.
President Sohar.
Here.
8 present.
Good evening, everyone. We'll start with presentations this evening. There's a presentation here by James Markey of JCP&L in regard to the hurricane restoration activities. Good evening, Mr. Markey.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's nice to see everybody again. And, I was invited here to talk about different things, Jersey Central Power and Light. So first, I'd like to recognize what a tremendous year it's been between pandemics, tornadoes, hurricanes, and now earthquakes. We were woken up about a week ago to an earthquake at my house, so it was pretty enlightening for New Jersey. I'd also like to thank the first responders, as you have, and recognize those policemen, firemen, utility workers, and contractors who continue to respond and do it safely. One of the things that I'd like to share with you is that as COVID initiated back in March, one of the first things we took in mind was the safety of our employees. So we immediately disseminated people to work out of the office from home. We took our line workers and separated them into small pods to make them safe, working out of our substations, our transmission right-of-ways, other facilities, so that we could keep an eye on, maintain, and mitigate any possible exposure for them. And we've been very, very successful. We've had approximately 13 cases and regretfully 1 fatality associated with that. But safety is, of course, the most paramount thing in what we do. And the heightened sensitivity around restoration is there, but safety to the employees is also paramount. One of the things I wanted to share with you before I talk about anything with the hurricane is automated meter infrastructure. Recently, the board received several proposals from all the electric distribution utilities with regard to installation of automated meters. And automated meters, smart meters, different acronyms for them, are proposals that we put forth that would be, if accepted by the board, potentially implemented between 2022 and 2025. There's a lot of positives associated with the automatic meters. You know when customers are out, you know when they're in, gives you actual reads throughout the month and throughout the year, and provides greater flexibility in the way you operate your system. It also provides educational tools for the residents and consumers of that electricity to make more informed choices. With regard to the hurricane you had mentioned, it was quite a significant event. It impacted roughly 80% of all JCP&L customers. Here in town, it affected approximately 11,600 customers. Within 24 hours of the event concluding, meaning when the winds had subsided and it was safe for our employees to actually go out and start restoration, which was about 7 o'clock on Tuesday night. So by Wednesday night, we had restored approximately 40% of the customers here in Old Bridge. And by Thursday night, we had restored another 50% of the customers, bringing down the number of customers from 11,500 to approximately 1,000 customers by Thursday night. And then by Friday night, we're down to approximately 73 customers out. And again, nobody likes to be inconvenienced or out of power, but realizing that to do this work safely takes time. And we're not going to jeopardize 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day for anyone's life. You know, our guys work very hard at doing what they need to. They follow our processes. Our processes are in place for the protection of our employees and for restoration, a precise way that we go about restoring transmission lines, then substations, then critical facilities, and then ultimately distribution facilities and residential customers. So from an overview standpoint, that's what I'm prepared to share tonight. I will share one more thing. We do after-action reviews, and one thing we do have coming up in conjunction with Middlesex County is a review where we invite the local OEMs in, as well as we'll do some outreach and invite the mayors also if they can attend, just to discuss what went well, what didn't go well, what are our opportunities for improvement. So we recognize that there's always continuous improvement opportunities. There's always takeaways, good, bad, and indifferent, and we're willing to understand those and always go back and take a look. So with that, I'll open up to any questions or comments.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming this evening and speaking with us. It's appreciated. I think a lot of us wanted to just speak with you and get some updates. So I'll start from up front. Mr. Pischetti, you said you had a question.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for coming tonight. On these meters, are these like RF wireless meters?
They are wireless. I can tell you that much. I don't have the detail about the specific types in the proposal.
You know, they tried to do this in California, and I was reading that they had some people had issues with the danger to animals and to humans from the radiation of the.
Yeah, I don't have any background. I do know that the board in Pennsylvania mandated our parent company to install those same meters in Pennsylvania, and we did it to several 100,000 customers without incident.
Thank you.
Anyone else in front here have any questions? Mr. Merwin?
Please just be patient.
That storm was the worst storm that I've ever seen Jersey Central respond to. They did not come into our town, at least into my section of town, for 2 days. We had trees down in roadways that you guys never even responded to. I mean major roadways. I mean Matawan Road, which is a major thoroughfare from Lawrence Harbor area out, all right? With no traffic control around it, no warnings. We had live wires that were easily accessible to children that you never responded to. And it wasn't that you didn't know about them. You did not respond to them. It took 2 days for a Jersey Central truck to get into the Lawrence Harbor, Cliffwood Beach area. That is totally unacceptable. Most of the damage that occurred during that storm was your fault. Was Jersey Central's fault, no doubt about it. The clearing of vegetation was never done. So most of those trees that came down on your wires, which created the problems. I hope you take this back to them, because if you go before the Board of Public Utilities like you did after the Sandy storm, believe me, I'm going to be front and center in pushing to deny any kind of increases for Jersey Central, because your response was atrocious. And there's nothing else that can be said about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Merwin. Mr. De Palma.
Yes, just two things. So one, not to totally beat you up the entire time you're standing in front of you, I will say when the folks either from JCP&L or your sister company showed up, they did a phenomenal job of getting stuff done very quickly. So I know as soon as we saw the trucks roll in, they all did, the fine women and men that you have working for you did a wonderful job of restoring the service to everywhere that I saw. No one had a complaint of when they saw the truck, it was kind of like what Hurricane Sandy, you saw that gasoline truck coming, everyone was happy. So I will say that, and you know, to echo Mr. Merwin's thoughts, something does have to get done with the vegetation around the power lines. I know you can't go up there and cut them down yourselves, but we do need to make a more concerted effort around the town, especially some of the areas like Old Bridge where we are an older community. We have a lot bigger trees that are overhanging all these power lines. Things have to get done. We need to get folks here to assess the power situation, especially the places that were hardest hit. You know, we have a senior community that was out of power for a number of days, right? We do need to do better, right? But like I said the first time, the wonderful women and men that showed up to actually fix the power, they did a phenomenal job.
And just to share with you, with regard to vegetation management, you know, we only have a set limit how far around the wires we can trim and what rights we have, and the board collects a limited amount of money for us to do that every year. I know about a year and a half ago, there was a significant event in North Jersey, and they gave us some additional money to do our worst performing circuits and do some enhanced work. And I'm hopeful that when we finish it up this year and go back to them, they'll provide that same provision, because I do think it's beneficial, and I agree with you that the more you can clear away from the power lines, the more further away you can get and address some potentially dangerous trees or trees in decline, you know, the better off reliability becomes.
Yeah, I mean, I could say the cost of fixing I know for a fact 2 areas right where I am, I was lucky enough to not be affected for as long as some folks, but it was a simple, if the trees would have been cut back like they could have been, you would have not been there to clean up that power line.
True. And we don't own one of those trees. I just want to be clear. We don't own one of those trees. So, but we do our best, and if we find trees outside of our corridor that we're allowed to cut that are a danger while we're doing our normal trim cycle every 4 years, we will approach those homeowners. In many cases, they do give us permission to cut them back, but in some instances they don't. But it's recognized, and we'll see where we go when we return to the board. Thank you.
Ms. Oley?
Thank you, Council President. Mr. Markey, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. What was the designated staging area prior to the storm hitting? Did you have one?
We had 4 staging areas set up. Great Adventure, I want to say one was over by the coast and by Oceanport, and I think 2 more were up in North Jersey. We subsequently opened up 2 more, and I don't have the locations off the top of my head for those, so we had 6 in total. And we also had COVID testing sites to be part of that, and we had to go through the whole COVID social distancing, which further added to the difficulty processing people in, giving them safety training before we put them to work and everything else.
Yeah, I don't want to beat you up either, because when you guys did come, they did a great job, but I have to tell you, like my 2 other colleagues said, the response time was really bad. You know, I drove around the ward after the storm had passed by, and even the following morning, there was still, I didn't see any trucks. So I really hope we can all work together in the future to make sure we never have this problem again. Thanks for coming here tonight, I really appreciate
Oh,
it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else down on the dais there? And, no? Okay, up here? Mrs. Walker?
Yes, my main concern was the lack of communication. I had received calls and letters from residents, and I had written to JCP&L, and I received no response. The previous man that worked at JCP&L, he was extremely responsive to any complaints we ever had, and he would tell us what would happen. And so I wasn't able to inform my residents what was happening, and that, to me, was a very, very big concern.
Well, again, I during this event and the way that it happened, we all go through the incident command process for these large-scale events. So there's alignment between federal, state, county, and local. Throughout this event, I did ask for one point of contact for each of my municipalities so that we could streamline it and get to priorities and priorities only. Some of the things you're talking about here. You know, I've always been responsive to whoever calls me outside of these astronomical events. And, you know, certainly if there's something that's still outstanding that either myself or somebody else hasn't gotten back to you about, if you could just share that with me individually after this, I'd be glad to look into it and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, first of all, thank you for coming. And as you said, none of the trees are JCP&L's trees. And to me, as a resident, it is frustrating when I see people planting trees close to the overhanging wires. And I said, they're not thinking 5, 10, 15 years out. So that's very frustrating to me, yet at the same time, you know, what season of the year do you cut the trees usually?
Well, again, we cut all of our circuits on a 4-year cycle, so we're pretty much trimming back trees all year long.
Because usually when I see them in the spring and the summer, I say they really should be doing them in the fall or once the leaves are off, or winter. It would be so much easier to see the shape of the tree, see other branches, see what branches are healthy, which ones aren't, and really do a better assessment of cutting and trimming the trees. So that's what, whenever I see them in my area, it seems like it's always the spring, and it's really, they cut back, you know, just enough so they're not touching the wires, but it doesn't last very long, so I don't think it's cost effective, you know, for JCP&L to do it that way. That's just a suggestion. And I'm sure since Sandy, I mean, I would like to believe that there's been investment in the infrastructure and a lot that you've learned from Sandy and things that are doing, you know, moving forward, and not that just once the lights were turned back on after Sandy that it stopped. So if you could elaborate on some of the things that JCPL is continuing to do to provide electricity.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm really glad you brought that up. You know, before Sandy, we started to make an investment in infrastructure in tying in our different substations with sub-transmission lines, 34.5 lines, 115 lines to provide redundancy. And if you look at Sandy and the scope that it took and the time that it took, and you were to compare the two events, I believe that the investments that we made over the past 10 years or so have significantly helped us restore customers much quicker than we would have in the past by providing that redundancy, allowing us to reroute infrastructure or reroute electricity through different infrastructure and provide additional ties to various substations. There's roughly 11 substations in and around Old Bridge and 31 circuits that serve constituents in and out of this municipality. So there's quite a lot of tree work to be done on a regular basis. The investments that we've made in and around leading up to, where it may not be done in this municipality, but it does support the systems that do serve this municipality. So we have made a significant investment in much infrastructure, and we do have plans in the future to make additional, like adding another line into our Freenew substation up in Matawan, which is a big substation which provides power to the little substations that bring power to residents, and some other projects that we have coming up.
In areas where the wires are underground, do you see less problems with less outages?
They're different outages, they're different problems. When they're underground, they're harder to find. You've got to go through the markout protocol to call in markouts and wait 3 days and dig it up to try and find issues. Different infrastructure, and some of it I'll say is conventional underground, like you would see in a city, a duct and manhole system that has different issues like salt intrusion and water intrusion, and you know, believe it or not, animals also. So there's different reliability issues with overhead versus underground. I can't say whether one's more reliable than the other. I don't have that.
I just didn't know whether one's easier, not more cost-effective to maintain, or more cost-effective because you have less problems once it's in the ground, and I'm sure it's encased, it's more protected.
Yeah, again, to go back where we are now, we're an overhead company as directed by the Board of Public Utilities. If they were to change it, we would certainly become an underground utility. But the cost of doing that, last I heard, was roughly $1 to $2 million a mile for the electric infrastructure. And when you talk about it, you also have communications and telephone on existing poles that we have today that would also have to be addressed. And that's if you have the opportunity underground to put some of those resources. There are areas we've gotten into where there's so many other resources in the ground, you can't really put infrastructure underground. Mm-hmm. But again, we're a regulated overhead company by the board today.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Brown?
Hi, Mr. Markey, how are you? I spoke to you on the phone. I don't know if you recall, so.
I spoke to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. Yeah, well, from Old Bridge, it was me, and I spoke to you probably like a couple of days after the storm. I just actually wanted to say thank you. I know when everyone else had a lot to say, I just wanted to say thank you because you were really responsive to me, and you were, you gave me as much information as you had, which I think we all understand up here that sometimes we can't fix problems immediately, but we really, really do our best. And I know everybody was out there working really hard. And we actually did okay in my area for the most part. There were some outages, but I believe they came back fairly quickly. Mm-hmm. I know the priority is usually like hospitals, medical centers, and things like that. And us, obviously, major roadways where there could be a major car accident if they don't get lights restored and things like that. So just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Jim, I did fill out one of your surveys. They sent us some surveys, and I did fill it out. One of my suggestions is you can't get by your system if you don't have an account number. So if I'm riding down the road and I see a wire down and I go to report it, I can't get past. They need that account number.
The online system?
The online and the telephone. Both of them require an account number. Why? We're reporting an outage. We may be reporting a very life-threatening situation. It shouldn't be stalled at that point.
I'm going to have to go back and look at that for you, Dave. I thought there was an opportunity to go directly to an attendant when you call in.
Well, there was. I wasn't finding it. Plus, I was out on the road and on a phone.
No, it was. I can appreciate you don't want to be unsafe doing that either. But I'll look into that and get back to you. I know you brought up communications. So one of the things that we do have available for the residents are various communications tools. If you Google Jersey Central Power and Light, under safety, there is a communications section where you can sign up for email and text alerts. So every time there's an outage and there are updates, you'll actually get text back, emails back that will provide you the updates with estimated times of restoration or any other updates that we may have. So I did want to share that information as well.
Well, that's what I went to the Facebook page finally because, but, some people, when, they're panicking, they're not going to even think of that. So it just may be a suggestion, like, make it a little bit easier to report.
I will bring that back, Dave.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Okay, anyone else for a comment? Mr. Lavelle, from a tree standpoint?
Yes.
Hey, Gary.
If I may. Council, Gary Lavallo, Conservation Officer for the Township. I worked for JCP&L for 2 years back in 2006, but when it was GPU at the time. So I was the system forester for distribution and transmission for a while. So I understand what Jim is saying, but I want to inform the council that you can't storm-proof lines. It's impossible. And as much vegetation management that's being done on a 4-year basis, which is mandatory by the BPU, and they have specific regulations on what their clearances are, what the notifications are, and they have to follow those. But the enhanced trimming program now is working out from, and Jim could do this better than I can, but it's from the lockout zone, which serves a lot of people. So when we were doing storm preparation work, we always had to assign our crews where the maximum outage was and put those back in service, and it worked down to the end of the line. But the tree trimming is always an issue, and you can only do so much. The regulations that were proposed early on were to be able to get to any tree on private property. So if anyone here has trees on their private property and want to come home one day and find that tree removed, that was part of the regulation were proposed to try to reduce the amount of outages. But they couldn't do that. They didn't want to go onto private property. And a lot of trees are private property, and those are trees that are out of the control of the utility company. So we have to be careful not to wish for every tree to be removed to stop every outage, because you'll never do it. Just imagine a 100-foot tree that's in a backyard of somebody's house. You can go back there and remove it, because that could technically fall on the lines 90 feet away. So the active tree trimming that JCP&L is doing now is a combination and a cooperation between the Shade Tree Commission in my office and the utility company, where they're pruning trees that have to be pruned, and also trees that have to be removed are removed. We've gone to JCP&L and said, well, this tree should be removed. It's in the street, and it's a tree in need of removal, and it's also mutually important for the power company to remove, because they remove that's less tree they have to maintain. So on a final note, just so you know, is that we're planting trees every year for Shade Tree Commission through our trust fund account. And we make sure that, like if you look at Throckmorton Lane, we planted 114 trees on Throckmorton. Trees on the power line side are small ornamental trees. Trees on the other side are larger shade trees. So we're doing our part to make sure that 20 years from now, Jim doesn't have to come down there and remove the trees because they hit the lines. So I just wanted to bring that to council's attention. Thank you.
Mr. Lovallo, thank you. Okay, anyone else from council? Everyone good? Okay, I'd like to just say also thank you for coming this evening. And please understand that you couldn't be everywhere at the same time. And we understand that. But through our lens as elected officials, we wanted to let you know what we encountered and how, things were here in Old Bridge. A lot of the senior communities I know were affected, and they were very, very concerned and very upset, and these are the kind of calls that we received. So we just wanted to let you know where some of the little, wrinkles in the carpet came, and that maybe in the future some of this could be addressed as constructive, because we just want to make things better for the residents and, for everyone. We did have, as Mrs. Walker said, we had a very close relationship with Mr. Riccardi prior to you, and we'd like to forge that relationship with you as well. It's just that, we are a large community, and these concerns we wanted to bring forward because the residents brought them to us, and we represent them. So that was the reason why, everyone was giving their opinion from what they received from their different residents. So that was why we wanted to just make sure that everyone understood what happened here and, learn from it, and we can move forward, and hopefully we will.
Well, and after our after-action review is complete with the counties and with our other constituents, one thing we're going to do is get back out and talk about these issues too.
Right.
To say, here's what we've heard, here's opportunities for us, or, if we're going to do X, then you're going to sacrifice on Y portion of our restoration, which means it might be another day longer or something, but at least share with us the lessons learned and what we're going to do or we're not going to do with regard to how we operate. I mean, you come across these events, and they're large. There's no doubt about it. 80% of our customers out, 12,000 hazard locations to assess, 600 road closures, 700 poles, 2,700 cross arms. There's a lot of work there, no matter how you dice the cake. And a lot of locations. To Dave's point, yeah, some roads were closed for a couple days because we had so many to get to, and because we had so many other safety issues to get to. And while we're doing things to make things safe, we are also restoring customers along the way. So there is a lot of thought behind what we do. There's always opportunities for improvement, and we will share that information with you when we're done.
Yeah, well, that's important. I think a communication component between the two entities is very important because we really are on the front lines as well. Trust me, I got calls at 5:30 a.m. We were on the front lines. So that's why we wanted to speak with you and make sure that, moving forward, as I said, we have maybe some changes that could be made, and we gave you our input. So thank you for coming and listening. It was very appreciated.
Thank you. Thank
you. Have a good evening.
How far are you all caught up? Are you all caught up?
Yeah, because the last customers restored after an event like that does not mean that we're all caught up. We spent the next
That's what I'm asking.
roughly 2.5 weeks surveying our circuits, fixing temporary repairs, and I was just mentioning earlier, You know, we've had crews working storm restoration since that event, not here, but we sent crews down to Texas. They were then shipped over to Louisiana. They spent about 3 weeks. When they got back, a day later, we sent crews down to Alabama who are now returning today. So these weather events are, in my opinion only, much worse than they used to be. This is National Preparedness Month. Make a plan, build a kit, be prepared, get involved. You know, we're trying to do our part to understand it and support where we need to, and repair things that need to be done.
When will you be getting back to replacing the street lights that were knocked out and taken out? I had one street light that the power line to it was down, so instead of stringing it back across the road, because they just cut and ran, they cut it. And when will you be getting back to those things?
Well, again, now that we have all of our folks back, we'll start to be returning to full normal operations. But if there's things that anyone here is aware of that need to be addressed, please share with me. I know you have in the past, and I'll be glad to make sure we get it addressed.
Okay, very good.
Very much. Have a good evening.
Maybe I just need 2 minutes. Okay. Anyone on the conference call, please be patient. We'll get to you as soon as your hearing is up. We will take you in the order that you were on the agenda. Okay? We will get to you as soon as we possibly can. Please be patient.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Okay, thank you, Stella.
You're welcome.
Okay, next will be redevelopment study, 1 Old Matawan Road, and 2 will be Route 35 and Lawrence Parkway, potential areas for redevelopment, and this is planning.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Council. The Old Bridge Redevelopment Agency has been looking at the entire town to see which areas have a potential to be revitalized or potential to be redeveloped. And this is just the beginning. We have started with first 2 areas. That is, one is Old Matawan Road, and the other one is the intersection of Route 35 and Lawrence Parkway. At the last, that was the August agency's meeting, they passed a resolution requesting the council to authorize the planning board to undertake 2 studies. One was for the redevelopment and rehabilitation of Old Matawan Road. Again, it's redevelopment and rehabilitation. So there are some residential properties we want to give them an opportunity to revitalize, and that's why we included rehabilitation in the study. And the other area is Route 35. I'll go into each of the study area now. Old Matawan Road area is actually, it's on the boundary of East Brunswick and Old Bridge. This is Highway 18, Old Matawan Road. So majority of the area is to the west of Old Matawan Road. These are some commercial properties that are closer to East Brunswick's boundary. The entire area lies within the Economic Development Opportunity Zone 1, and it comprises of 26 parcels. The existing land use within the area is mostly commercial, few residential, but the single-family homes are existing non-conforming uses because the Economic Development Opportunity Zone does not allow residences within that area. There are a few automotive and personal services, and then there are almost 5 vacant parcels within the area. This is the zoning map showing that the entire area lies within the EDO1 zone. The land uses in orange is commercial properties, the yellow is residential, the dark brown is vacant parcels. Basically, the New Jersey State Plan has created 7 planning areas. The first planning area, which is PA1, the Metropolitan Planning Area, this entire area is located within the metropolitan planning area. And the state plan actually encourages redevelopment or infill development within this area. So actually, one of the criteria of the redevelopment law, which is criteria H, that it has to be in the smart growth areas, already is met because the entire area is within the PA1 area. Also, there's great connectivity. There are NJ Transit bus lines, bus number 68, 139, and bus number 818 traverses through this area. One that links the Old Bridge, East Brunswick, Jersey City, and Weehawken. The other one is Lakewood, Old Bridge, New York, and New Brunswick, East Brunswick, Old Bridge bus line. There's also the county area transit that runs between Brunswick Mall and Old Bridge commuter parking lot. So the area is well connected with transit. These are the statutory criteria for redevelopment and these for rehabilitation. I will not go in detail with the criteria now, but I just want to talk about benefits of the study. First and most important thing, this will be a non-condemnation plan, which means that the township will not exercise the power of eminent domain. With redevelopment law, I think it's a very powerful tool when it comes to revitalizing the area. This area is actually at the gateway entrance of Old Bridge, and it is characterized by vacant parcels or parcels that have very obsolete layout. Some of them have very unsafe conditions because they don't have access to Highway 18. They abut the ramp, so the only access is on Old Matawan Road. So by creating a redevelopment study or a redevelopment plan, it will only improve the property values. As you see people revitalize their properties. It will promote sustainability because we already have the bus lines within the area. It has a lot of vacant parcels. It will help these vacant parcels be developed. And there's always a negative connotation when there are vacant parcels within an area, because those become places for people to hang out and crime. So this is the first area. I'll move on to the next, unless you have questions for the first area. Sure.
Are you like talking about cutting in the Old Battle Road from 18?
Mike, John.
Are you talking about cutting into Old Matawan Road from Route 18?
No, I didn't get that question.
You're talking about access from Route 18 to Old Matawan Road?
Right, there is no access, that's what
There has been, and they closed it for many reasons.
Right, and I'm not trying to add an access there.
Okay, I thought you were saying you wanted to bring it into there.
No,
Now,
no.
are you doing all of it? Like, before you do anything, I want something done with that state property. It's disgusting. I just want you to, people have been calling me every week.
That's correct, and
And I need it cleaned up. All they have to do is go in and cut it and move it around and stuff. That's all they have to do. And it looks horrible. It's an eyesore. Even if they put the slats in the fence, just something to make it not such an eyesore. And I promised I was going to bring it up tonight. I didn't know you were bringing this up.
Councilman, we are working on with the state DOT. It's a DOT-owned property. But this plan is for the entire area, including DOT. Will be able to. So I think it will eventually help us.
That was my question. Is it going to include that, too?
Yes, it will help us in pushing that issue.
Okay, thank you very much.
Are we going to get a copy of this report? Because I didn't get anything in my email, and I don't have a copy, hard copy.
There is no report. This is actually, no, this is a presentation, but this is just to ask the council to authorize the planning board to conduct an area investigation study. So when that happens, once the council passes the resolution, I will prepare a study and present it to the planning board. You will get a copy of the study at that point.
Okay, so we're not going to get a copy of your presentation?
Unless you authorize me.
You'll be able to get a copy of presentation. There's no problem.
Yeah, because there was a lot of detail in there I wanted to read.
Sure, sure.
Okay, and also one other thing, eminent domain. We have a ordinance in Old Bridge that you can't use eminent domain for public use.
We will not be exercising the power.
I know you said that, but there is an ordinance in Old Bridge that says you cannot use eminent domain for public use.
That's correct, yes, but that's the whole thing. She's indicating that we're not even considering eminent domain. So we just want to make sure everybody is clear that this plan does not include any plan of eminent domain, and now you're just confirming that because of our ordinance doesn't allow anyway.
Right, thank you.
Vina, could you go back to the legal portion of what makes up a redevelopment zone? The statutory. The place you just.
Yeah, the criteria.
Jumped over. That's that. We just go over that. There was another one too, wasn't there?
These criteria are set up by the local housing and redevelopment law.
That's part of the state statute, right?
Yes, that's correct. So when an area investigation is conducted, basically it is the The next area is the intersection of Route 35 and Lawrence Parkway. This includes 49
Ina, I
parcels.
just had one question on the last thing, I'm sorry.
No
So
problem.
does it go right to the border of East Brunswick? Just straight up? Okay.
Actually, there is a designated village based on the state plan, which is right next to this redevelopment area, but the designated village is within East Brunswick.
Okay, so it's pretty much when you
It's
get on
like a
516
continuation, yes.
Right, okay, thank you.
No problem. So the Route 35 Lawrence Parkway area comprises of 49 parcels. The boundary area is McKinley Avenue and Sunset Avenue to southeast, Lakeview Avenue to northwest, and Ravine Avenue, and Sunset Avenue to southwest. I think it's clearer with the area. This is the boundary of the proposed redevelopment area. It goes right up to the waterfront, includes the Rossi Township-owned parcels, this vacant parcel here, these properties, this entire stretch. Again, this area lies within the metropolitan planning area where redevelopment, infill development is highly encouraged based on the state plan. The area has 49 parcels, 25 residential, 13 parcels commercial retail, 8 parcels are public, a house of worship, an OBMUA building, and a vacant parcel. This map actually shows the bus routes and the quarter-mile radius. So this is the walking distance based on smart growth planning principles. There is a bus stop right here and a bus stop right here. There's municipal parking lot. This is the library, which is closed currently. The firehouse. These in blue are houses of worship. Again, the redevelopment criteria is listed. The rehabilitation criteria is listed here. I think in the past decade, waterfront redevelopment, waterfront development has been on a forefront. Many of the municipalities in New Jersey that have waterfront have used redevelopment as a tool. And I think redevelopment is a very powerful tool to spur economic growth in these areas. I believe this is the right time for us to look into this area. the area is divided between the EDO 1 zone, the Economic Development Opportunity Zone 1, and R5 zone. R5 zone has small undersized parcels. The zone requires parcels to be 5,000 square feet, but these parcels are around 2,000 to 2,500 square feet. So we have included all those in the study area. The area also abuts the lead contaminated area where we have been in mediation for some time. It's chugging along, and I think there will be some sort of consensus and a resolution met shortly. So I think this is the best opportunity we have to look into this area and start the process and then keep moving on along Route 35. So this is just a beginning for Route 35. And I would recommend that the council pass a resolution to direct the planning board to initiate the study for both areas.
Thank you, Vina. Anyone else have any questions? Any council people?
Okay. Hi, Vina.
Hi.
Thank you for putting this presentation together, and I fully support this initiative. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else, any council person? Okay, well, thank you, Vina, for the presentation.
Thank you.
And now,
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to move.
Second.
Council member, there's a resolution on the consent agenda.
it's on the consent agenda.
That you will be, approving it at that time, and then it will be forwarded to the planning board to conduct the study. Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much. And
There's no need to separate.
Yeah, I don't think you need
yeah,
anything
we
to
got
do
to
that.
yeah.
We have people.
Okay, thank you very much, Vina. That was a very nice presentation. Okay, next will be approval of minutes, combined meeting, May 4th, 2020.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Rizzoli.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next will be our bill listing, Mrs. Walker.
Accounts payable, September 21st, 2020, $32,838,523.34.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Mr. Murphy.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll, August 14, 2020, $823,630.78.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Mr. Piscitty.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscitty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll overtime, August 14, 2020, $61,230.40.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Walker, second by Mr. Pescetti. Mr. Shaw, can we have a breakdown, please?
We can't hear him.
I apologize. This payroll, the anomalies in public works and the parks were tropical storm that we just talked about for both recreation and public works. And also during this period, we had a drive-in movie, so recreation has a special event, and there was an overtime related to that. For the police department, the total overtime for the sworn officer for this period was $51,887.32, representing 815 hours of men and women hours. There were 2 officers injured on duty, and there was no officer quarantined in that period. And obviously, special event, police had a lot of overtime, storm-related overtime.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll, August 28, 2020, $839,904.81.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Murphy, second by Mr. Pescetti.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll overtime, August 28, 2020, $48,171.88.
Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Mr. Murphy. Mr. Shaw, may we have a breakdown, please?
Yes. Council member, the total overtime for this pay period was $48,171.88. There was no specific issue during this period. For the sworn officers, overtime was $36,020.28. When you deduct for grants, $7,835.70. Deduct ETO, $5,131.98. The net overtime was $24,183.60, representing 492.5 men and women hours. There was a one officer injured on duty or light duty.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll, September 11, 2020, $841,001.12.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Pescetti.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll overtime, September 11, 2020, $45,841.07.
Do I have a motion?
Move it. Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Pescetti.
Council President, just indulge me. Total overtime for this pay period, as Councilwoman Walker indicated, was $45,841.07. There was one COVID cleaning related event during this pay period. For the police department, for the sworn officer, overtime was $30,015.03. Deduct grants, $8,509.50. Deduct ETO, $4,372.76. Net overtime was $17,132.77, representing 425.75 hours, men and women hours. There were 2 officers injured on duty this period.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Yes. Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
9 yes.
That concludes the bill list.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Walker. Okay, next will be public hearing and ordinances for second reading. H1, appeal of conservation officer decision of required tree replacement, 15 Care Lane, tree removal permit number 2020-0129.
Council President, the conservation officer, Gary Lavallo, is here to explain and answer any questions.
Okay,
I have to see if anybody's on the line.
and you have the...
There might be.
Okay. She just wants to make sure you have them on the line.
Okay. Hello, are you on the phone for the trees?
If you're in the contact, yes, I'm the microphone to your call.
Okay, what is your name, please?
Robert Moscato.
Okay, Mr. Moscato, hang on, because your hearing is up now. We have Mr. Lavallo here. Okay?
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Good
Gary, can
evening.
you move closer to the mic,
Yeah.
please, so they can hear you?
Okay, how's that?
Good.
Good.
15 Kerr Lane applied for a permit, I believe back in May, and wanted to remove all the trees in the backyard. And according to the ordinance, at a property of his size, he's permitted and exempted to remove 50% of the trees on the property. I qualified the total tree count.
All right, Gary, can you move the mic down a little, maybe? That's good. It's very good, Gary.
All right, is that on?
No.
Is this
I
thing
hit
on?
mute.
It's on.
Yeah, it's on.
Oh,
Speaking to the mic.
All right. Oh, is that all right?
Tell the guy to mute his phone.
That's all right.
okay. Mr. Moscato, can you please turn off the speaker on your side until you're ready to speak? You're getting a lot of feedback, so that's why you can't hear us here. All right, so everybody on the line, please turn off your mics. Already has a barking dog in the background. Barking dog, cats, bird. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, Mr. Lavallo, thank you.
Okay. It's very simple, is that the ordinance requires on a property that size an exemption of 50% of the trees. When I visited the site, I qualified his total number of trees to be at 76. So with that, he was able to remove 50% of those. And if he wanted to remove all, the ordinance does provide him an avenue to do that. And to remove all the total trees at one shot would require him to pay a tree replacement fee of $14,460. He has another option, is to plant 44 shade trees at this diameters that I specified in the letter, or he can landscape his property at the cost of the material to offset against the cost of replacements. And he could do the simple thing of removing 50% now, and then next year doing another 50%. So that would be 75% of his total property. That's verbatim of the ordinance, and that's what it's allowed to do. Mr. Mercado would like to remove everything at once, and according to his letter, to remove it all without paying the fee until next year. I do not have the authority to exempt that. I don't recommend that we do that, because it sets a precedent across the board that you can remove all your trees if you want, and then I have to worry about tracking down later about getting you to compensate the town for the loss. The additional information is that Mr. Mercado's backyard is wet. It has never been maintained as far as I can see, a lot of gum trees. However, to remove all those trees at once, the area will dry out, except during rain. And when it rains, there's no more trees to absorb the water. And what's going to eventually happen is his neighbors are going to be affected because of the water runoff. So that's the purpose of the ordinance, is to make sure that the removals do not affect somebody next door or the neighborhood down the road. This clearing all at once would more than likely, I'm not a hydrologist, but it's easy to see that the trees do absorb and that the surface runoff of the water will probably affect the neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Lavallo, for your explanation. Now,
Mr. Moscato, do you have anything to say to, or to ask our tree expert? Were you able to hear his report?
It was very hard for me to hear him. Gary has come out to my property 2 times already to inspect. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, Gary came out to my property, 2 times. I actually, I'm a lifelong Old Bridge resident. I decided to sell my other house. I stayed in Old Bridge. I purchased this new house on Kerr Lane. The previous owner did not take care of the property. There was tons of trees. It's like a swamp in the backyard. Gary's been to the, I said 2 times to my property. He can agree with that. 99% of my trees on my property are sweet gum trees. which are garbage trees, and they throw itchy balls everywhere. So the previous owner, if you go on the side of the property, and Gary has seen it, the lady did not pick up one sweet, itchy ball, and it's about 12 inches thick. So, according to the variance, yes, I can cut down 50% this year, which I already did. I can cut down 50% next year, 50%, and it keeps going on for no replacement cost. Number one, the trees are too close to my house. They're too large and too close to my house with my kids' bedrooms right behind them, right? Number one, especially after the last John Safarowski. Number two, left the conference. Number two, besides it being dangerous, if eventually I'm going to be allowed to cut down all of the trees and no replacement cost, and I told Gary this a few times already, I am not going to leave my yard barren. I will be planting green giant arborvitae around the entire perimeter of my yard. I swore this to him. I do not have money for the $14,000. I do not have money for the $14,000 permit fee for trees. But these trees, number one, some people do not mind taking the risk of large trees by surrounding their property, their house. Me, like large trees with my kids' bedrooms in the back, I do not want to take the risk. Don't suffer with that. Number two, I already told Gary I will be planting. I've left the conference. Around the entire property, next year and the year after. I guess so. Can everyone hear me okay?
No, not really, no, because there's somebody in the background that has either a radio or a TV or something's on.
The person in the background probably has two things playing.
John Safarowski.
Right, somebody has to shut something
He
off.
is now in the conference.
But you only have one guy on the call here.
I can hear you okay, but I do hear noise in the background.
Okay. All right, Gary, Mr. Lavallo, were you able to hear him?
Yes. I'm very familiar with it, so I kind of picked up words here and there and knew exactly what he was getting at, yes.
Okay.
Can you explain it to me? Because I didn't hear it too well.
He has to turn off his TV. Because he's
What's his reasoning for not doing 50% now and 50% later? What's his reasoning?
Say that again, please.
What's his reasoning for not doing 50% now and 50% later?
He doesn't have the money to do the replacements.
I will be planting trees over the next couple of years, as I told Gary, green giant arborvitae, because number one, I do want privacy around my yard. There are 3-4 trees behind me, and trust me, I don't want other people looking in my property as well. So I told him green giant arborvitae will be planted around the perimeter. It's literally a swamp pit. It's a mosquito haven back there. I didn't go in the backyard once this year because there's just, number one, besides the trees being too tall, there's too many bugs back there.
I looked at the property on Google, and it's like a forest.
You
He's
have
got
to
a
use your
forest.
mic, Mr. Piscatty, so we can hear you.
Yeah, he's got like a forest behind his house, all right? There's a multitude of trees very close to his house. So I don't know, when did he move in? Did he just move there a couple of years ago or something?
I think so. Recent.
This year?
Mr. Moscato, when did you move into the property?
I was born and raised in Old Bridge. I just moved into this house, so we needed a larger house. I purchased this house. I moved in April.
In April.
So the guy wants to get rid of some trees in his yard, and it's a financial burden because there's so many trees. It's like a forest back there, right?
Yes, it is. It's a wooded section of his yard. It's not a forest, it's a wooded section of his yard, for sure. Yes. 76 trees I qualified.
76?
76.
Trees.
Yes.
And it's going to cost him $14,000 in fees to the town.
To remove 100% of the trees, correct. But no fee for 50%.
So I'm going to ask the question again.
Sure.
Why doesn't he just remove 50% now and 50% next year?
Okay, Mr. Moscato, did you hear the question that Mr. Piscatty had for you?
Yes, the reason why I don't want to wait next year and then the year after that for the remaining 50% of the 50% is, number one, these trees are too large, too close to the house. The last storm we had, the tropical storm that came up, trust me and my family were in the front of the house because they were all bending right towards the back of the house. And I said, everyone, let's go to the front of the house, where the trees are, there's no trees in the front. So I said, let's everyone get to the front because if one comes down, it's coming down in the back of the house. Some people don't mind with trees that close to the house. I don't. Not with kids, not with a family. It's too close, and I'm not just trying to, I want to cut down trees to cut down trees. Number one, it's a safety issue. And number two, I will be planting trees around the entire perimeter over the next couple of years. And Gary can see the size of my yard. I'm probably going to have to plant 100 to 150 green giant arborvitae trees around. Away from the house, it's going to be, along the perimeter. But I'm going to have to plant, I would say, a minimum of 100 trees around.
To satisfy the 14,000, he would have to plant over 400 arborvitaes.
Looking for relief.
Yeah, he's looking to remove everything for no fee. Correct.
Just the moisture.
So, a lot can be done with planning. It is now the end of September. I don't know how long it would take in stage to take down this many trees. And when he planned, I don't have the plan when he planned on starting. But January 1st is a new year. Do you have to wait you don't have to wait the whole year. It's just a new calendar year or a year from when they took down the trees?
It's not a calendar year. It's a year from the date of the permit.
Okay, so that explains a lot, because I was going to say, takes them down
Yes.
now, and then January 1st, it's a new year, so it's a year from there. Okay.
Anyone else?
Question for legal. We have this ordinance.
The mic, Mr. Merwin.
Question for legal. We have this ordinance. We have our professional tell us that he does not recommend us approving this appeal based upon hydraulics of the area and everything. If we are to approve this, and we allow him to remove all 100%, and it does create a hydraulic problem where the water's running onto the neighbor's property, would the town be liable?
Well, let's put it this way. I can guarantee you that you would end up in a lawsuit from the homeowners that live around it. Whether they're successful or not, it's another issue. But clearly, if your professional is telling you there is going to create a hydraulic problem, that's why we have experts, and that's why we rely on them.
But that's not the issue. The issue is he just wants relief from the $14,000. He'll remove them. He can remove them.
His question to me was whether or not the township would be liable if they allowed him to cut all these trees down. That was his question to me.
The way I understand it, we're only asked to relieve the homeowner of the money, the fees. He's only asking for relief from the fees, not permission to cut down the trees. He already has permission to cut down the trees.
Permission to cut down 100% of the trees.
Can you ask the homeowner?
He has permission to remove 50% of the trees right now. He has the permit.
But he has to pay for how much?
No, he paid $35. That's all he paid. And he has permission to remove 50% of his trees, which I think, Mr. Mercado, you did remove 50% already, correct?
Yes, sir, I already moved 50.
So he's already fulfilled the permit for $35.
Okay.
Well, you also said it sets a pretty bad precedent.
On the mic, please. Microphone, please.
Sorry, you also said that it would set a bad precedent, though, right?
Absolutely, because the neighbors all have trees in their backyard.
Yeah, so...
And bad news travels fast.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
It is. We try to maintain the ordinance as best as possible because we do not want to get into these situations where you let that person do it, now I want to do it, and then try to justify not doing that.
Right.
Yeah, but then you have another issue, because if one of these trees fall, let me ask the legal this. Now we say, no, you can't remove all these trees, and one of these trees fall and somebody gets hurt. Now you got another lawsuit.
Those trees are on his property, they're his responsibility.
And he's trying to remove them.
He's already been given a permit for whatever the number is that he's already removed. There's no liability on the township for that.
This is the same ordinance that we use against developers.
Absolutely correct.
So we give it to them, the developers are going to want to come in, and they're going to want their money waived.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And I've been involved in instances where the courts have ruled that if you treat the residents the same as the builder, you cannot differentiate. Whatever you do for the builder, you have to do for the residents, vice versa. You can't separate that and discriminate that way. And we have a lot of development coming up.
So are you basically here to have us make a decision?
Oh, I've already made my decision, but Mr. Mercado would like you to overrule that.
This is an appeal, Mr. Murphy. Councilman Murphy, this is the appeal of Mr. Lavarlo's decision.
So could I make a motion to go along with his recommendation, being that he's the expert?
Well, you'd have to make a motion to deny the appeal. I mean, that's essentially what you're doing. Council has to vote on the appeal. The homeowner is appealing Mr. Lavarlo's decision.
Okay.
All right, and that's pursuant to the township ordinance.
Now, does any other council person have a question? Okay, Mr. Pescetti, go ahead.
Okay, so let me just make it clear. He's already removed 50% of his trees. 1 year from today, he can go ahead and remove another 50%.
Correct. Correct, for $35.
$35.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, what was the date that the first 50% were taken down? April, no, he moved into the house April 13th.
Mr. Moscato, what was the date that you took down the first 50 trees, or roundabout?
Date of the permit.
Second, I believe it was.
August 2nd, thank you. August 2nd.
August 2nd.
Mr. Lavarlo, you said that it was from the date of the permit, right?
That's correct.
Not the date that he took them down. And just for clarification, because I was a little confused, you said there was 400 trees on his property?
No, there's 76 trees that he was removing. In order to compensate for the cost of the 14,000, he'd have to plant close to 400 arborvitaes.
All right, I'm sorry, I
Permit
misunderstood
was
that.
signed May 13th. So he has 1 year from that signature.
May 13th.
Okay, so he's already removed 50% of those trees, of 75, right?
That's
So
correct.
he removed like 30 some odd trees.
That's correct.
So now, does he need, by ordinance, have to replant how many trees?
Not at this point.
Not at this point?
No,
So he can remove 50% of the trees, he doesn't have to replant anything, he just has to wait 1 more year to get rid of another 50%.
That's
And at
correct.
that point, when he does that other 50%, does he have to plant anything?
Not if he does 50%, no.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
He wants to plant trees, though, obviously, around his property, he's saying that, you know. And my question is also.
One moment, we'll get back to you in a moment, Mr. Moscato. One moment. Dr. Greenberg has the floor.
My question is also, when you were out there, and obviously he had a tree service go out there and cut down other trees, there's no reports of any, like, dead trees, damaged trees, or things that, any tree that would be in a perilous situation that feels it would be extra to take down, that these trees are healthy and that there's no indication that there's a problem at this time with any of the trees that are there.
Not to my knowledge, but I'll make this point, one more further point, is that if any tree from subsequent to the date, it becomes dangerous one way or another, if it dies for various reasons because of the removal process that went on, he's entitled to remove those immediately, and doesn't even need a permit to do that.
Okay.
So he would contact the office, tree died, I would look at it, and he could take it down right away. And that's typically between the mayor and our office, is that whenever there's a storm, we waive those fees, we waive the permits, so people can get their properties cleaned up.
So far as we know, the trees that remain are healthy trees.
As far as I know.
But they could change, okay.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to make a motion that we deny the appeal and based on our expert's recommendation at this time.
Okay, did anyone else have a question before?
I thought the homeowner had something to say.
All right. Mr. Moscato, did you have something else to say?
Yes, like, in the meantime, until, let's say, next August, I come about and I tell Gary, I want to cut down the other 50%. If a tree falls down over the winter, right, or we get another tropical storm, right, because we've been getting more, and the tree falls down on my property or my house, either injures someone in my house or does damage to my property, I would like to know who is going to be responsible for this. And I'm telling you guys, I will be planting trees. I'm going to do my yard nice, okay? And I told Gary this, and he knows the trees that are there, they're not oak trees, they're not maple trees, right? Besides being too big and too close, there's not one good tree on this property. It's 99.9% sweet gum trees with 12 inches of itchy balls in the backyard that the previous owner, I didn't realize, to ask him, because I bought this house in the winter, you go into the yard, there's 12 inches of itchy balls in the woods. It's literally a slosh pit and a mud pit. And, you know, if you think I'm just going to cut down the trees and I want to do this for the hell of it, no. Number one is safety, and number two, it's a mosquito haven, and number three, there's just too many trees, too many big trees close to my house. And if it falls down on my house, I just want to know who is going to be responsible for you know, whether if I get denied.
Well, if that's a legal question, you should consult an attorney, because I'm not going to give you my opinion on that.
Agreed. And meanwhile, you know, like, if I get denied now, I'm just saying if, we're just delaying the inevitable, because next August comes along, I am going to cut down to 50% anyway at no replacement cost, you know, and the next year is the 50%. So according to the ordinance, eventually, yes, it will be done. I'm just asking to do it sooner, right? This way, you know, number one, I don't have to go through an entire winter or almost an entire year with these big trees too close to my house. And then when next springtime comes along, I can start planting or replanting the trees around the perimeter of the yard.
Motion is on the table. I need a second.
Okay. I still have another question. I always try to look at things from more than one side, and this may not fit. If a person wants to do this, looking at your 4 recommendations, they would have to submit a payment of $14,460 to the shade tree. Just like there's an escrow fund, if they put the money in but then do all the plantings, do they get the money back?
To date, no refunds have been issued. If a $35 check is issued and the homeowner wishes to rescind that, they'll get that money back. But in terms of putting it in a trust account, we've issued no refunds. No one's asked for them, and as far as I know, we've never done that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this is like something I thought of, just how like there's a bond, you know, in town when things are done, and then when the work's done, they get, you know, maybe put a maintenance fee in that, you know, everything was done properly and they get their money back. I'm just thinking, because you try to understand the residents' position. I understand our position from the town, that we have an ordinance and the ordinance is in place for a particular reason, and I respect obviously our professional and your recommendation. But I'm just trying to think if there was, you know, some urgency. You know, obviously the gentleman's concerned about these trees, but, you know, if I was told that they're healthy, you know, the chances are they won't come down. Maybe we could go and monitor them, or he can have his tree, you know, the person that he used to cut down the trees, monitor them to see if anything was actually damaged with taking down these trees, and then maybe we, you know, have something to reconsider then, or taking down more trees. I don't know, I haven't seen, I wouldn't go on someone's personal property, obviously, and see the amount of trees that he took down. Is that enough a buffer from did he take the ones closest to the house down first, and then there's trees behind them? And does that give an adequate distance from the trees to his house? I did not go on his property, obviously, to see that.
I'll tell you how we handle that. And whenever I do quite frequently get told, if this tree falls, we're going to sue you. I could tell you that probably 3-4 times a week, people say that. So what I do is, if I'm looking at a tree from the ground and I think that there's nothing wrong with it, I will tell the resident that, and I will say to them, if you get a letter from a licensed tree expert to the contrary, we will approve it. And that particularly applies toward heritage trees. Whenever there's a heritage tree that looks okay, it's automatically denied because it's a heritage tree, and there's certain ways to get those removed. And one of them is to have a letter from an outside professional, not me, an outside professional that says this tree is in risk of failure. And if we get that letter, it's automatically approved. So we ask the homeowner to do their private property, to take care of that themselves, their responsibility, to supply us with a letter, and Mr. Moscato could do the same thing. If he can give us a letter that the remaining trees represent a risk to his property from a licensed tree expert, we'll approve it.
I think that would give us, more to go on. Because we need to protect the town, and that's why that ordinance was put in, and I respect you and your opinion. So, I always want to oblige the residents as long as, it's the proper thing to do, and with, all legal ramifications. And we don't want to start a precedent where everyone's up here asking for appeals. And so, maybe that would be a direction. And, really right now, when you think of it, between now and they can remediate the other property, he says there's a lot of, there's sticky balls on the ground. Maybe if they clean it up, they see how the water is, if we have another storm, how it flows, get someone in to investigate that. And really, the spring will be here before you know it.
We're in a better position if we follow the ordinance.
Yes.
If we don't and allow it and something goes wrong down the road, you let this happen. But we've sticking to the ordinance. It's doable. He can wait 1 year, get the rest of his trees down, and move forward from there. But to grant this appeal, in my opinion, would be a mistake.
Mrs. Walker, you had a...
Understanding that it runs from the permit date, so next May, he could take down the other 50%. So it's only 7.5 months away.
Correct.
It's springtime.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else have a comment or a question? I now have to open it up to the public. So, Stella?
I'm sorry, what was that? Yeah, okay.
No. Okay, we are opening it up to the public. If there's anyone out there, resident that wants to speak to this issue, now would be the time to phone in, please.
Code 10 activated.
Hello, Stella?
Yes.
Has anybody called in?
We have it on.
So nobody's called
Is
in?
this
from the
open to the public commentary yet?
Only this hearing is open, the tree removal permit hearing. Is that what you want to speak on?
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much. Nina Jocknowitz, you know where I live, West Greystone Road.
No, they're on the
Hi.
conference call. They need to
So
call
I
into
just
the
have one-
public
Nina,
line.
excuse me, Nina, I have to stop you. You're on a conference line. You have to call into the other phone. You can't be on this line.
This is the number that you guys posted on Facebook, by the way. That I don't understand. That's why a number of us are on this. I think there are about 9 people on this conference line. You actually posted this number. It says, call this number to make comments on your Facebook page.
Okay. I'll have to give you another line to call in unless you want to take her now. This is on the hearing. Nina, if this is on the hearing only, we can take you now, and then I'll give you another number if you have to call in later. Okay?
I've been waiting in queue for a long time.
Ne-
See, there's a number of people, I think, on queue.
All right, is this what you want to talk on, Nina? If it is, please continue. If not, we have to get on to business with this.
Certainly. So I just had one question or comment to ask. The homeowner kept talking about the fact that he lives in the middle of a swamp, but he's cutting down like all these trees. I'm kind of concerned about him cutting down the trees because, of course, it's going to make more of a swamp. And does he have a land designation of wetlands there? And if he does, then that really decides whether or not he can even cut down as many trees as he's talking about cutting down.
Actually, since I cut down the tree where the first 50%, the property actually dried out pretty quickly.
Well, you're missing my point, sir, actually. The question is whether or not with the designated wetlands, property makes use of that.
No, it's not designated.
Okay.
Tell him. Tell the homeowner not to respond.
Okay. Stella, if you possibly could send me a link or...
I'm going to give you the phone number right now, and anybody else that's on that line. The number to call in for the public is 732-607-7931.
That's 32.
I'm sorry, hold on a moment. Mary, what was that?
Gretchen gave me the notice that was in the newspaper with this phone number.
That's not what we have here.
So we're gonna have to jockey back and forth. So
Yeah.
we should give her the new number and.
All right, it's 732-607-7931.
And extension 2999, right?
No, just hold on 1 minute, Nina.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's our fault, you got the wrong number, we apologize for that. I don't know how that happened.
It's okay, it's okay. Yeah, 732-607-7931, correct? And then what's the
Yeah.
extension?
Can we take a break so I can redo the graphics?
Is there an
Yeah,
extension?
Nina, hold on 1 moment. I don't know what happened.
Let's finish this,
Well, it's a good thing we figured that one out, right?
Let's finish what we're tasked to do now.
All right, what are we doing?
We're gonna vote, we're gonna take care of this tree situation.
All right, well,
Number is on the webpage.
Okay.
That she said, and it's also.
all right. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take care, gentlemen, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take care of this item that's on right now, the tree replacement, and then we will fix the graphic, and there will be a correct number on there for the public to call.
Okay, super duper. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you very much, everybody.
That for calling tonight?
Yeah, hold on 1 moment, they're going to be calling tonight.
Well, I still stay on the phone, correct?
Hello,
Stay on the phone.
Ms. Cooney, is this regarding the tree replacement?
No, it isn't.
All right,
Fine.
then
This
please
is not
hold,
good,
then please
everybody.
hold 1
I'm the
moment.
attorney. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good to be here.
To answer this, you hit this phone, this button right here, it's the pick up.
Okay. All right, what are we doing?
By state statute, you're supposed to
right.
take attorneys, paid professionals, but here we are.
We will get to the professionals as soon as we get to that item on the agenda.
Honestly, we're supposed to be the first one.
Okay.
By state statute.
I'll make a motion to close the public. Stella, did you ask if there was anyone else that wanted to speak?
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyone else that wants to speak on the trees before we take a vote on it?
Okay, close the public.
All right, we close the public portion. I need a second on this.
Okay. Dave made a motion to close the public portion, second by Mr. Rizzoli. Let's vote on that.
So when does the public get to comment with this other extension?
During the public.
During the public hearing session. You don't want to comment on trees, right?
No, I don't want to comment on trees.
All right, just hang on.
Flooding on my street.
This would,
No, she's still on. Mrs. Cooney's still on. All right, I don't know.
Let's call the vote.
All right, I need a
Close the
second.
public portion on this hearing.
We close the public portion. I need a second on this motion from John.
John made a motion Okay, who's making the second on John's motion?
King, are you still with me?
Deactivated.
I am.
Okay, good.
I need a motion on John.
John made the motion. Do we have a second on John's motion? No.
Who's muted?
So that was second by,
And I'm ready to comment.
Mr. Merwin made the second on John's motion.
All right, this is a motion to deny the appeal. Okay? Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Abstain.
Okay, thank you very much, sweetheart. You are wonderful.
Please, no comments during vote.
Who is that?
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin?
Yes, based upon the legal advice and our professional, I vote yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes, but based also on both of them.
Mr. Piscatty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
8 yes, 1 abstention.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
The motion to deny stands.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lavallo, for coming this evening.
Thank you.
And
All right, thank you, Mr. Moscato.
Mikado? Okay.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, next will be H2, release reduction performance guarantee, K. Hovnanian at Old Bridge, LLC, Oakwood Minor Subdivision, Lot 1, Block 13326, Old Bridge, New Jersey, Section A, Bond Number SU 5002814. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Council President, Council members. My
Can
name
you-
is Timmy Joy. I'm a staff engineer in the Old Bridge Township Engineering Department. I'm here tonight to represent Ms. Shapiro, who is the Old Bridge Township engineer.
Stella, wasn't that one that you just said was there for that?
All right, anybody here for H2, release reduction guarantee for K. Hovnanian?
Peter Clouser.
Yeah, I believe she has before.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Clauser.
Yeah.
Robert Moscato.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Good evening. So, for the, in regards to the K. Hovnanian,
Mr. Clauser, can you hear Mr. Joy?
There are other people in the conference call that are speaking, and it's making it difficult for me to hear. If the other persons on the conference call could kindly mute their microphones just for this brief presentation, that would be very helpful.
We're not in their living rooms, we can't make them do it. Jimmy, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Just asking nicely, Stella.
so in regards to the application, which is,
Okay, can you hear him now? Jimmy, go ahead.
no problem. So regarding the application of 61-00P, which is the Oakwoods Section 5A and Recreational Area Performance Bond Release, the Section 5A, which is located at Block 13326, Lot 1, includes a recreational area, detention basin, and is located with 21 single-family homes in the area of Amy Court, Nathan Drive, Morris Drive, and Raven Drive. K. Hovnanian, it came with a bond, Oakwood Section 5 the engineering department had issued a letter dated March 23rd, 2017, advising the deficiencies which were required and needed to be completed. The Stormwater Basin 3 cannot be met due to the storm conditions. The minor subdivision application, which was filed and approved by the Township Planning Board, application number 18-19P, the subdivision and the application for 18-19P has not been perfected. The engineering department, the Old Bridge Engineering Department, had performed a site inspection and found most of the punch list items dated from November 24th, 2019, were completed satisfactory. An updated playground inspection report dated September 13, 2020, had included 20 of the original comments, but 6 of the comments had remained. However, in light of these inspections, the township and the insurance carrier had requested additional comments that needed to be added and addressed. Lastly, as of today, there has not been any received neighboring property owners who had complained to the legal notices for the developer. The performance guarantee in the amount of $495,106 was posted for the subjected property. The 100% performance bond, which is in the amount of $445,596, which represents bond number SU 5002814, we recommend the release of the performance guarantee subjected to the following conditions: the completion of the attached punch list item, the submission of the signed and sealed revised as-built drawings, and the payment of any outstanding escrow fees and amounts. In addition, the perfection of the subdivision. If anybody has any comments or concerns.
Anyone have any questions? Mr. Pischetti?
I didn't get any attachment with the punch list. And can you just quickly go over what they are?
Sure.
Just briefly? Cliff notes, please.
No problem. The September 13, 2020 punch list included 11 items, one of which the basketball court, the concrete walkway, and the adjacent basketball court must have grass removed, the blacktop added, and smaller gaps of the court to be concrete walkway. The second item is the pavilion roof, which had icebreakers placed on the roof to prevent any snow or ice from developing. The third item is the town may have any soil tested prior to the release of the property to the township. The slide in the playground, the area footing is broken and must be replaced. The fifth item is the remaining fence rails and posts must be repaired or replaced. The sixth item is the concrete walkway going into the pavilion has cracks and must be replaced. The seventh item is a large hole by the drainage grate which must be fixed, and the concrete adjacent to the grate must be replaced. The eighth item is the receiving of the information of the playground year of installing and any manifest. The ninth item must be the received information of the PVC cap by the playground. The 10th item, which is the bush between the sidewalk, must be removed. The dirt and the grass seed must be put in. The 11th item is the fence by the homeowner's home must be repaired and the original fence must be put back in. This is the September 13th punch list items.
Thank you. And, excuse me, you're recommending that we release the bond, but you
Yes.
have a number of things that still have to be completed. Is there a reason why you want to release the bond without these items being completed?
Well, yes, they were substantially completed as of today. There is a couple that are still outstanding, but we do recommend the release of the performance guarantee with these conditions.
Okay, so what guarantees that they're going to do those repairs?
Councilman, we would not release the bonds unless he's,
Conditions are
Councilman, we will not actually allow release of the bonds until engineering department satisfies that all the issues been resolved. But because of the meeting timing, if they complete tomorrow or day after tomorrow, we're satisfied. Now they have to wait for another meeting, and so, in fairness.
Thank you, Mr. Shah.
Yes, Council.
Piece of property, what are we talking about?
This property is located in the, it's off of Trans Old Bridge. It's
Okay.
the playground and the detention basin adjacent to it.
And everything's been addressed down there?
A majority of the punch list has been addressed. There is a couple items that are standing and that need to be taken care of.
All right.
You keep saying a couple of the items have not been addressed.
Yes.
What are specifically those items that have not been addressed? Of those 11, which ones are they?
As of today, item number 3, the soil testing. Item number 6, there is some deficiencies in the concrete sidewalk. And items number 8 and 9 need to be submitted in addition.
And they were what?
There are the informations regarding the playground year and the manifest for the parts.
And how much money is left after this bond reduction?
It's a bond release for 400 and,
The total release?
yep.
Don't they require maintenance bond?
This does not require a maintenance bond, no.
No, okay.
Okay, any other council person for a question? Mrs. Walker?
So if we release this money, we have no recourse if they don't do these improvements.
Council,
Not going to
Councilwoman,
release it?
you'll note that the engineer's report on this, I don't know if you have a copy, but
Yes.
she makes it a condition that completion of the attached, of the punch list. So in other words, there's no release until all of those, have been corrected and fixed. So the money's not going out until the engineering department is satisfied that the punch list is completed. So what's that?
Releasing it to anybody, we're not releasing it to anybody until the punch list is
Right,
completed.
we're releasing it to engineering, and then engineering will, the responsibility, right. So engineering will make the final,
They will let us know when
Councilman,
it's time
what
to
you're
release
doing,
funds.
what they're doing, hang on. Councilman, what you are doing is subject to approval, and yes, you authorizing, and you're making engineering department responsible to make sure it's done, and you're giving them that authority by adopting these resolutions. No, they will not release it until all done.
This is the thing Tim gave us at the beginning of the meeting.
All right. Does anyone, any other council person?
Just, we didn't have that in the backup, that's why. Okay.
Any other council person have any comments? Okay.
This is often done, that there's a punch list and it's not until it's complete, then the money won't be released.
I just want to also say that I am, we have concern. This development has had issues, and it's about time all this remediation is taken care of. I think the people out there have been very patient, and I just want to make sure that they are covered properly. We're going to now see if we have a motion in a second. We are opening to the public. I would encourage anyone that lives in that area to please phone in right now and let us know if there's anything else that you see out there that would be a concern, okay? So would anyone else like to speak? Are we good? Yeah, now I'm going to first, and then we'll let the public speak.
Mr. Clauser, do you have anything at this time to add?
I do. We've had the opportunity to review the report from your engineer. As was indicated by your engineer, a substantial number of the additional comments that were generated as part of the September 13th punch list have been completed. With regard to comments 8 and 9 about the information, I submitted to Ms. Shapiro a letter identifying the manifest and the installation of the year of the playground equipment, as well as the fact that the cap that's in the ground is the drain out, the clean out for the drain that's under the recreation area. So the only issues that were left on this bond are really their maintenance issues. This playground was installed 14 years ago, and yes, grass has grown up through concrete. Concrete is cracked, and K. Evananian has reviewed the punch list. We agree with it. We've completed it substantially in the six or so days since we received it. And we understand that there is no bond that's going to be returned to K. Evananian until Ms. Shapiro's office indicates to Ms. Ward that these last, now 2 items on the punch list are
Took my paperwork.
and so what we're asking is that the council just adopt a resolution following your engineer's recommendation in their report, and that resolution and the release be subject to compliance with the conditions in that report. And we're very confident that we can work with Mr. Shapiro's office to complete those items. But we're not asking for any money back tonight. We're asking that the resolution be adopted, acknowledging your engineer's report, accepting their recommendation, and we'll complete those last couple of items. And engineering will have to sign off on that before before Ms. Ward
That's
will,
okay.
will give us back the bond.
I don't think that's it.
Okay, are you through? Mr. Clauser, are you through?
Mr. Clauser, are you through?
If that was a question, it was difficult for me to hear. If I don't want to ignore you, if you were asking me a question.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that you're through.
I am, yeah. You know, and frankly, I would like to say to the council, I very much appreciate the efforts that you're going through to allow us to participate in this manner. Although it's difficult, it's nice to have the opportunity to try and move forward with business.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other council? John?
When is our next meeting? Isn't it like in 2 weeks? October 1st, right?
The next meeting is the 5th, I believe.
Yeah, the 5th.
Well, we
Push this off. I don't feel comfortable with
can
this.
put it off, being that it's so close. We
Yeah,
can
that's
do
what
it.
I'm saying. Can we just push this off? I'd like to hear from the,
You'll have a chance to memorialize this. By that time, they'll have a chance to finish everything they have to do, and engineering will send down an okay to memorialize.
I just want to make sure none of this money is released until everything's done.
It's not.
Well, that's what they told me in one of my wards, and it was.
I have public.
Okay. Or anyone else have a comment? Mr. De Palma?
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that, so Himanshu, I know like what you're saying, so no money will be released until every single thing on this punch list that Nicole and the rest of the department put together, correct?
That's always the case. Even
No, don't say it's always the case.
John?
we always make sure the punch lists are completed before we allow release. I can assure you that this engineering department will not release these bonds until all the items, they're satisfied that their generated list is completed. And you have a word from the developers himself on the record that they'll be completing it. Now, yes, it's only 2 weeks away, but the whole entire process will have to restart if you delay it. So that's the reason I recommended that you proceed with it, and we'll make sure that the work is completed.
Okay. Everyone, any other council person?
Yeah, I don't want to hear that it's always completed. That one over that I had, the stuff, none of the punches was completed, and she accepted it. We had to go back out and fix everything. Don't say it's never happened. I think it was Red Shore, I think, or whatever that is over there.
Okay, do you have a comment?
And there's still problems over there because of that.
I'm going to make a motion to move it.
Okay. We have to now open it to the public. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, there's a phone number to call. If you or anyone who lives in that area in Oakwood, please reach out to us now. We'd like to hear from you so that we can complete the process, but we do want to make sure that everyone out there living in that community has no questions to ask this evening as well. Thank you.
Mrs. Zakowitz, are you online for the release reduction of the performance guarantee?
Could ask if there's anybody
Michael.
else.
There you go. She hung up.
Well, we disconnected her.
No. No, hit answer.
Josh, you should ask if there's anybody on the line.
Charles Brightweiser
has left the conference.
So now the line is, all right, so she hung up, so the line is open for the next person to get started.
This is something I really feel very strongly about. I've represented them for over 10 years. I want them to be able to answer.
Stella, you only asked if Nina was on. Could you ask if there's anyone on?
There's nobody on right now.
Oh, okay.
Hello, this is the Old Bridge Township Council meeting. Are you calling on the hearing, the release reduction for K. Hovnanian?
I'm not calling on that specific item. I was on hold at 4814. Should I stay on that number?
No, you can stay on this number. You're not calling for the release, are you?
No, I'm calling for another.
All right, we're only on for the release right now. All right? So if you want to give us a couple of minutes and then call us back?
Sure, I don't stay on this number?
Yes, on this number only.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
You got it.
All right, goodbye.
Okay. Anyone else, Stella?
That's it.
Okay, so then make a motion.
I'm still here.
Still
here.
Who is still there?
Bianca Sangiovanni, I'm the attorney for Queen's Bob.
For Cooney's? No, we know that. We're going to get to you in a couple of minutes, okay? We're still on a release here. A bond release.
We had a motion and a second.
Who seconded it?
Close the portion.
Mary, close the portion.
said we made a motion to close the public portion.
Okay. All right. This is for a vote on the release. Mrs. Brown? Oh.
Motion by Mrs. Walker to do the release, correct, Mrs. Walker? Yes. Okay, second is Mr. Rizzoli. I just want to make it clear for the record.
Okay. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Based upon the conditions set forth by the engineer and the administration saying nobody will get paid, yes.
I'm sorry, was that a yes, Mr. Merwin?
Yes, that was a yes.
Okay. Mr. Murphy?
No.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Sohar?
Yes.
8 yes, 1 no. Okay.
All right, just, thank you very much. Just to be clear, that was 8 yeses to adopt the engineer's recommendation.
Yes, it was.
The bond subject to the condition. All right, thank you all very
Okay.
much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good work. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Okay, next is H3,
Peter Clouser.
renewing plenary retail consumption license number 1209-33-036-009, Upbeat LLC. Is the attorney here for them? Okay. Okay.
Okay. On this, I have, during COVID, we were able to do an affidavit that, from the liquor license people, if they did have conditions on their license. So I'm going to read to you the signed and notarized affidavit from the owner of the liquor license. Liquor license 1209-33-036-009, Upbeat LLC. They're located at 24B Route 34, South Amboy. I swear to abide by the conditions set forth on my liquor license that are listed in the resolution set forth before council for the new licensing term, which will expire on June 30th, 2021. My conditions are as follows. Number 1, install and maintain a surveillance system which covers the interior of the bar and also the front and rear exit. Condition number 2, the system will need to have the capacity to retain these images for 7 days. Signed and notarized, and I have spoken to him, and he agrees with the conditions and is asking for you to renew his license for the licensing term of 2020 and 2021.
Okay. Does the council, any council member have a question or a comment?
No, I do not.
I'm going to need a motion.
Move it.
Second.
Who was the mover? Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
And second? Mr. Rizzoli, and now we have to open it up to the public. So anyone in the public wishing to call in about this license number 120933-036-009 Upbeat LLC, now would be the time for the residents to call in.
Agent logged off.
You logged out.
Are you looking for my adversary? Not my adversary, but my colleague.
Where are you from?
H3. H3.
Not on matter yet, Bianca.
I think so.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It says stop.
Did I have cancel? That's star and then type your number. So you're behind hit dial.
Picture code 10 deactivated.
Okay, now you're logged off. Did you do star 452?
Agent logged in.
Okay.
2107.
Okay, now do 2.
Picture code 10 activated.
Good. She's ready.
I'm leaving it on.
Close the public portion. Do I have a motion?
Yes, we do. We already do.
Move it. Okay, yes, in second for
We
Mr.
already
Rizzo.
do.
Okay.
Okay. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, next will be H4, renewing plenary retail consumption license number 1209-33-035-007, Chi-Chi 35 Corporation, trading as Diamond Girls.
Right. That's the same situation as the last one. I have their signed and notarized affidavit, and I'll read it to you. License number 1209-33-035-007, Chi-Chi 35, trading as Diamond Girls. They're located 1103 Route 35 and Greenwood Avenue in Lawrence Harbor. I swear to abide by the conditions set forth on my liquor license that are listed in the resolution set forth before the council for the new licensing term, which will expire on June 30th, 2021. My conditions are as follows. Number 1, on Friday and Saturdays from 6 p.m. to closing, the licensee will have someone on duty at the door to check identification. Item number 2, the parking lot is to be patrolled from 9 p.m. to closing to ensure that people are not gathering. Item number 3, utilization of a video surveillance system to record the parking lot and have the capacity to store images and video for 7 days. It's signed and notarized. And they're asking the council to consider renewal.
Okay, thank you. Does any council person have a question or a comment? No, I'll ask for a motion.
I'll move it.
Second, moved by Mr. Pescetti.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, was it Mr. Murphy? I apologize. And then second by Mrs. Walker. Okay, now we'll have the public call in, please, if you have anyone who wishes to be heard on this plenary license, they can call in now.
Okay, all right. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscatty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soher?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next will be H5, person-to-person transfer, liquor license number 1209-33-003-009, Yenuk Incorporated, trading as Cooney's Pub, to NZ Dimes Incorporated, trading as Sammy D's Bar and Spirits.
Okay. Council, before we do this transfer, we have to do the item that I have on the liquor license resolutions. LL2, we have to renew their license first, and then we will take the transfer. So if we can just renew Cooney's package and Pub and Package first, and then I can do the transfer with you.
Do we open it to the public?
LL2. We can open it to the public, yeah.
L2,
Mhm.
okay.
Thank you for being excused.
Okay, so we're looking to get a motion to renew.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Walker, second by Dr. Greenberg Belloy. Now we open it to the public.
Okay.
Anyone in the public wish to be heard on this particular license, please call in now.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Excuse me? Right. Mhm. Motion to close public portion, President?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscatty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soho?
Yes.
9 yes. All right, now we go to H5, which is the person-to-person transfer.
What is
Okay. All right, all the paperwork is in order. And we have the attorneys here on the liquor license, Cooney's Pub to NZ Dimes, trading as Sammy D's Bar and Spirits. Is the attorney still here?
Bianca Zingerani present.
I'm sorry, your name for the record, please?
Go ahead, Bianca.
Zingerani present for the seller.
Sammy Stein, yes, the buyer. And TK Shammy, attorney for the buyer, the transferee, NZ Dimes Inc. Good evening, counsel.
Okay.
Good evening.
Thank you for being here so late.
Thank you for all your patience.
You're very welcome. I understand what you're doing there. It's very difficult.
Does council have any questions?
Okay, any council questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Merwin?
Your mic.
Your mic, please.
Mr. Merwin.
The police department has done their background checks on the new
Everything's been
owners and
checked. This has
everything,
been
right?
ongoing
Everything's
for a
good?
while.
That's
Everything's
okay.
checked and in place. All approvals are received.
Okay, motion? Moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Dr. Greenberg, and now we will go out to the public. If there's anyone in the public who has any questions on this transfer, now is the time to call in. Okay, close the public portion.
Okay. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Fischetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
And President Sohar?
Yes, and thank you for staying on the line that long. It's
Thank you
appreciated.
for staying online.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, counsel, and Madam Clerk, thank you very much for your patience and assistance in the process.
Thank you. Okay, it was my pleasure.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next will be preliminary public comments to council, subject to the following conditions and restrictions. During the preliminary public portion of the meeting, any person may address the Township Council on any subject matters for a maximum period of 5 minutes. Any such person desiring to speak during the preliminary public portion will sign a list, which this evening is not available. Comments during the preliminary public comment portion of the meeting shall not encompass second reading ordinances or any other matter for which comment or a public hearing is to occur at the meeting.
Good evening. Welcome to the council meeting, Mrs. McGovern.
Yes, my name is Phil McGovern, 201 Yorkshire Court in Society Hill. I just called to thank Ms. Ward for her dedication to Old Bridge Township. She worked hard for the residents. I want to wish her well in her future endeavors.
Phil, thank you very, very much for the call. It was my pleasure. Thank you. Hello, Mrs. Jackowitz.
Hi, good evening for the second time. Thank you for changing the number. Now the confusion is all done. Okay, so first I wanted to do a few shout outs. First, I don't see Chief Oprah in the room, but I wanted to put a big shout out to the police chief and their team because they've taken up policing Duhernal, the newest nuisances of the ATVs and the dirt bikes. It's been super great that they're starting to take that up, and most of us in that neighborhood are really grateful for them to do that because it's going to address both the nuisances, the damage, and the garbage that's swapped by these people. And actually that brings me to the second point. I wanted to give a second shout out to Councilwoman Adina Brown, who co-organized the cleanup at Duhernal this past weekend. She was a group of high school students, myself, and several other people that I called after I found out about it, worked on the waterfront for several hours, cleaning up, getting out a truckload of garbage, waste, burned property, and everything else. And I was very excited that she did that, even though it was not the second ward, or third ward, third ward. It's the 6th ward, and I'd love to see other people doing the same thing. There are 3 council at large. We never see them over the 6th ward. It'd be nice if you guys could organize the same kinds of things. It'd be great to see you actually doing stuff outside of just voting on bills and resolutions and everything else. I don't think that's the only job of council. Finally, there's another thing I wanted to bring up, and I still don't understand why Councilwoman Mark Rizzoli continues to support the violent Joe Ryan, police officer in Carteret. He's been suspended or on desk duty for more than 40% of his 5-year police career for assaulting black youth. And I don't understand why he continues to be supporting this man, financing him, fundraising for him, and everything else. It's a shanda. He's violent. He's a danger to everybody who is with a badge because he continues to be on the force. You should be stepping down as a supporter to him. You should speak up against bad police officers like him. Thank you very much, and everybody else, stay safe. COVID safe. I'm sorry that I don't see everybody with a mask, especially the people who are sitting less than 6 feet from each other. But that said, have a wonderful night, and don't get COVID. We just passed 200,000 today, by the way. 200,000 dead. For those of you who don't believe it's real, it's real. I have a friend in ICU right now who's brain dead from it. Anyway, that's it. Have a lovely night. Thank you again, Councilwoman Brown. You did a fabulous job.
Good evening, welcome to the council meeting.
Yes, my name is Charles Breitweiser, and some of you know me, but for those of you who don't, I'm a regular writer for our papers, and I'm the one who brought books on fishing, not on drugs, to Oak Ridge High School. And that's not why I want to be on the school board, but I want everyone to know that I'm interested in being elected for school board, and that would be for school year 2021. And because I want to get on the curriculum committee and bring in core curriculum like American history, capitalism, and civics. This way we can create generations of productive, independent adults. The crap we're teaching our children now will do nothing to advance their life as adults. We're keeping them inevitable childlike behavior, and they will not be able to survive on their own. I don't know anyone who still wants to live with a 40-year-old child. So I'm just getting my name out there, Charles Breitweiser. This will be for next year's school board election. And I just want everyone to know that I'm going to be running for school board, and I'm very passionate about this. Because my children are grown, but they are examples of how to create productive, independent adults. And I'll be on the school board committee. I want everyone to remember my name, Charles Breitweiser. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any comments?
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Breitweiser.
Okay, thank you.
Good night now. Good night.
Okay, good night.
Thank you.
So did I draw?
I think that's it, Mrs. Sohar.
All right, then we will now close the public portion, and I will go to council comments.
Council comments?
Please.
Mrs. Brown, would you like to go first, council comments, please? Anything?
Sure. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it still ring for public comments? Should we? Oh, we closed. Okay. All right. First, I did want to say, Stella, I mean, it's awkward to be sitting like facing this way. I can't really say it to your face, otherwise you won't hear it. But just know that I'm smiling as I say this. You know, I've been in this role for almost 3 years. In January it will be 3 years, and I just want to say thank you for being so available and kind all of this time and so knowledgeable. So I'm sad to see you go. We have good memories, I think, and thank you very much for your time here.
Thank you, Adina, that was very nice.
Oh, thank you. On to the less mushy things, but I just wanted to talk about the census event that we had for, it was not particularly for Ward 3, but we had it in Ward 3. It was hosted by a local census worker who's from Old Bridge by the name of Zanab. And then also Vina and Rosemary were there from the township, so that was actually really successful. We were looking to engage people that are in the London Terrace apartment area, Parkwood Village, and it was good. We had a Friendly's ice cream truck out there to lure people in because we're trying to get more engagement and get people to fill out the census. Rosemary and also an intern by the name of Stefan and myself, and also a census worker at one point walked around the community some people were actually home, and most of the people that we knocked on their doors said that they had already filled out the census online, which was really great to hear. So that was a successful event. And one more item, Mrs. Joknowitz, who called in, mentioned this, but I held an event for a nonpartisan group that I founded recently to kind of unify the community with all the unrest that's been going on. And one of our first events was held on Saturday. It was posted on Facebook, so everybody is free and welcome to attend. She was a little bit wrong about the age. It wasn't high schoolers. They would be actually kind of offended, so I want to clarify they're not in high school. When you're in your 20s, you don't want to be told you're in high school. But it was college students. There were some above college student age, and then also some younger than college student age, because my 9-year-old is there, and also my husband and my 13-year-old. So there were a multitude of ages. I think we had about 12 to 15 people, and it was lovely. We cleaned up at Duhernal Lake, and it was quite messy there. We had a truck full of things. There were tires, and I think we got 3, and we had a whole bunch of bags of trash. So we'll be doing more, hopefully, before it gets too cold. But that was a success, and we hope to have more people next time. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. De Palma?
Yes. So first off, I just wanted to wish all the students and parents and teachers good luck as we start school. I know this isn't how any of us wanted to start school with the remote learning, but good luck. You know, take the technology issues in stride. I know I have my 8-year-old next to me every single day as I'm working, and she's attempting to navigate that. But, you know, good luck to everybody. Remember, reach out to, you know, the school officials if you're having problems. We want to make sure that the students are getting the best available education as possible in these times, and hopefully come October we can get some normalcy with the children back in school. Also, Stella, thank you very much. I want to thank you for everything for my first year on council. You helped me a lot through some of the rigors of getting things started, so I do appreciate everything. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy retirement. I'm not going to lie about it. I am very jealous. Thank you, Eric. I have 30 years left probably until I can retire. So, but thank you very much. And also with I have been getting a lot of questions lately on voting. So this year, and it seems like a lot of folks don't quite understand, this year there is a full mail-in ballot. So for 2020, come November, there will be no traditional voting in the polling places. There will be ADA conforming machines for those who need it. Other than that, you cannot vote by machine. So I know a lot of folks that I've talked to, they said, well, I'm going to show up, I'm going to vote by machine. You cannot. If you go to the polling place this year, you will have the option of 2 things. You can go with your ballot that you received in the mail, and you can hand that to a poll worker, or you will vote provisional. So provisional ballot, you will fill out the ballot and then give that to the poll worker as well. The other options that you have for this year is when you get your mail-in ballot, you could bring that directly to the Board of Elections, or you can mail it in. The last option that you have for this year is you could actually bring it to the township. Just last week, we had a drop box installed right in front of the township that's under surveillance at all times by the Old Bridge Police Department. So that is a secure way that you can come in. The placement of it, it makes it easy. You could just jump out of your car, put it in, and it'll go to the Board of Elections that way. So I know a lot of folks do want to go to the polls and vote the traditional way. This year, there will be no traditional vote as we've had in the past. Per the governor's mandate, everything is going to be mail-in. If you do have questions, the township has done a great job of posting stuff on their website. And also, I believe, Himanshu, there's a video today about the...
Yes, there's a PSA, public service announcement, taped today. I believe it's going to be released tomorrow. It's already on.
Yep.
Yes. That gives some information related to the same, same information. There's going to be additional announcement as we progress.
Yeah, so just make sure, just so everybody knows, that as we get the mail-in ballots starting to be mailed out, you don't have to wait till November 3rd. They have to be postmarked by November 3rd at 8 p.m. So once you get your ballot, fill it out, and what I just explained are your ways that you can vote this year. I mean, if you have any questions, I'm sure any of the council members up here will be more than happily assist you with any questions that you might have. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. And Dr. Greenberg?
Yes, I was just going to add to some of the things that Councilman Eric Tupama said. We are in a situation where it was a mandate by this governor that we have to vote by mail. And it's very disturbing, not just to, throughout the town when we're walking around, it's very disturbing to find out how many people don't even realize that when we speak to them. But also, this is a bipartisan stance that people are not happy with it. In fact, you can go to InsiderNewJersey.com, and there's 2 Democrat Perth Amboy councilmen that call out the governor on his irrational vote by mail executive order. And some of the things they stated, that they find it amusing that you could stand in a line at the motor vehicles for hours upon hours. You can go to a protest or riot. You can go to Costco, Walmart. They have kiosks in hospitals where you can register to vote that takes long, but you can't go vote at a machine. If he's really concerned about COVID, there is less one-on-one contact by going into a machine instead of going to the polling places and doing a provisional ballot. It is absurd, and there's no reason for it that this was taken away for our right to vote and to use a polling machine. But just like Mr. DePalma said, since this mandate's in order, it is urgent to know that if you want your vote counted, there's the way it should be done. When you get your vote by mail, the most important way would be to actually bring it to 11 Kennedy Boulevard. That's the Board of Elections, and you'll get a timestamp there. You can only, if you're a bearer, you can only carry three ballots at a time. But basically, the other best place to do it, and I encourage everyone to do it, is bring it to the drop box here. There are cameras in it. It's being surveilled all the time and less chance for fraud. If you mail it in, I've been a challenger at elections. If it doesn't have a stamp at the post office, it does not get counted. And then it has to be challenged. So a lot of times you think your vote's going to count, it's not. I think it's absurd. Then you think the primary wasn't until July this year. We didn't know the numbers. I've asked, never got accurate numbers. And provisional ballots, people who went by provisional, don't do that. Your chance of that vote being counted is minimal, because what happens, it's handled multiple times. If it's put in just simply put in a bag and it's not closed properly, it will be discounted. So first is to put it in the drop box. First is to bring it to 11 Kennedy Boulevard. Let them realize what chaos they're creating, actually. 2, the drop box right here in town at the municipal complex. And 3, mail it in. And as everyone said, Stella, you are going to be missed terribly. You run always a great meeting. You're professional. You're well informed. And it's going to be very awkward here without you. But we're all very happy for your new stage in life, and looking forward to hearing all the good things you'll be doing.
Thank you, Anita. Mr. Merwin?
Yes. As Councilwoman Brown stated, they had a census event over in Ward 3 by the apartments, and I'm proud to announce that on Wednesday at 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., we're going to have another event at the Lawrence Harbor Beachfront by the rec building. Again, the ice cream truck will be there. The mayor will be there. There'll be giveaways. The census people have giveaways, and there's even going to be some music down there. It's very important that people participate in this census. We can't, if we don't get the correct count, we don't get the correct money when we're applying for state aid, federal aid, and all of that good stuff. We need people to participate. Right now, what's the number, like 70%? Aaron, what's it, like 70% right now? 72%. We need Old Bridge to come up to 85, 90%. So you don't have to be from Ward 1. You can be anywhere from town. Come down, get that free ice cream. Friendly's got very good ice cream, you know that. So it's important that we get this correct count. And I mean, I've been around the town for many, many years, and that number keeps staying around 60, 65,000. Even though we have all this building going on, I don't know, you know, we're not getting the correct count. A lot of that has to do because we got like, what, 11 post offices and stuff. So make sure you get out and apply for this census. Stella? Oh, yes, and wear a mask and social distance there, all right? It's important that we all stay healthy, too. Congratulations, Stella.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, let me tell you something about retirement. I highly recommend it. It was the best thing I ever did. You're going to enjoy it thoroughly. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Murphy.
Stella, I just want to say congratulations. I'm going to miss you a lot, like all the rest of the council. And I'm going to keep your phone number, so if you change it, let me know.
Okay, I will, John, I promise. I'll call you.
I get bored. I just want to say something. What Anita and Eric, what Dr. Greenberg and Eric DePalma had said about the election is absolutely correct. This is something that none of us wanted. But I've gone around and I had 4 or 5 people that tell me they don't care, they're going to where they usually vote. I said, you can't do that because those places aren't going to exist. Luckily, I think I had 6 places in my ward, in Ward 6. I still have, if you want to do a revisional, which I don't recommend, you can go to those 2, but like she said, there is no place to vote there. And it's not that hard to just fill it up out, and if you don't want to drive to East Brunswick, then just mail it in. But this is a big election. This is for the President of the United States. This could determine which way our country is going, and I just hope everybody gets out there and votes for the president and other people running. Okay, and 2 of the ones running, can I say that?
Okay, you can say
Okay,
whatever you want.
and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right. Councilman Piscatty?
Yes, Stella, gonna miss you. Many, many years doing the elections with you. I've been a poll worker for over 30 years, and there's a lot of good memories with you. And gonna miss you, and I wish you the best in your retirement.
Thank you, Tony.
We still need about 6 Republican poll workers. So if anybody wants to be a poll worker, please send me an email. And that's about it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Rizzoli?
Thanks, Stella. I just want to comment on the governor. He obviously has no respect for the residents. He has an agenda, and he's following through on his agenda to not allow people to vote in person, really, which is one of the most important rights as an American. And at the same time, he's putting kiosks in hospitals during the pandemic, which is people are touching to register to vote, is just unacceptable. So I just want to advise the residents, the way you send a message back is by voting by mail, bring them to the drop box. Every vote counts, and that's the way your voice is heard. And Stella, I'm going to miss you. Congratulations and welcome to the club. It's a great thing.
Okay.
I can vouch that. And they do have phone block if John calls you.
Okay. I'll send it to you.
Thank you. You're the best, Stella. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Okay. Mrs. Walker?
Yes, I wanted to touch on the mandatory vote by mail as well. So many people I've encountered don't realize that they can't go to the polls to vote this year, and it's very upsetting that I feel our right to vote, the way we traditionally vote, was taken away from us, when yet you look at lines on the Facebook of the motor vehicle, you're waiting in line 8 hours. I think it's much less dangerous to go to a poll and vote, and I think it's up to me to decide if I want to go vote in person or if I want to go to Walmart or the DMV. It's up to me to decide, not the governor. And I just wonder if he has an agenda. I'm very concerned about this vote by mail. I was in a fire election in 2006, and I was the victim of voter fraud for absentee ballots. It actually went to court where I prevailed. So this is scary to me that on such a small scale there was voter fraud with absentee ballots. And just imagine, this is a presidential election. What could possibly go on? Look, in Paterson, New Jersey, there's just massive voter fraud. So it's very upsetting to me that the governor was allowed to make a decision like this, and I just think that there wasn't such uproar because I think a lot of residents don't realize that they cannot go to the polls and vote, and I think it's just a very disgraceful thing. On a nicer note, Stella, I just want to tell you how much I'm going to really miss you, and I want to thank you for all the help you gave me, especially when I became president. I was nervous, and I felt so relaxed with you next to me telling me what to do, and I'm going to miss you, but we're going to stay as friends, and I'm going to stay in touch with you.
Okay, thank you, Debbie, thank you very much. And President Soha.
Yes, just in conclusion, I too would like to say also, please exercise your right to vote. It is so important. Unfortunately, this year, the way this has been set up, it's quite disturbing to a lot of us. I myself always went to the polls, and I do, as Mrs. Walker said, resent the fact that I can't choose for myself which venue to use. But please, above all, please do come out and vote, because it is really important. We have to show this whole state that we're here and we're going to continue to vote and vote our conscience. So please, everyone, do that. As far as also cleanups, there was also 2 cleanups this week with the parents of 2 groups through Mayor Henry's Clean Team. One of them was on Marlborough Road, and one was on Old Amboy Road. So it's really nice to see the town, coming back again with that aspect of the cleanups as well. In conclusion, Stella, what can I say? As council president, you have a very different kind of relationship with the clerk, a very close one. And Stella, I want to just thank you so much. You're very reasonable and even-handed, and you really are a professional. And I got a lot of good advice and wisdom from you. You're a class act. And I really think that you've left a mark on Old Bridge that everyone will remember you always, not only for all your wisdom, but for your style as well. I mean, you are an absolute diva. And we will, as Debbie said, we will remain friends, I know, for lifelong. So really, I wish you all the best. I love you. And I really am so happy for you. Congratulations, Stella.
Thank you, Mary. Wow. Thank you. Okay.
Be report of our clerk.
Oh, okay, and I have it.
Okay,
It's
she's
right
got
here,
it.
Himanshu,
Okay.
it's right here.
Okay.
I'm going to echo a little bit of what a few of the council people said about the lockbox and everything else in the voting by mail. All right. Basically, what they said was part of my report, so I'm just going to echo a couple of items here that you may not know. The ballots are going out on this Wednesday, September 23rd. They're going to be going out in the mail. The drop box is going to be opened on Thursday, the 24th. When you get your ballot, the safest way to do it is to fill it out at home, bring it in the lockbox, and put it in there. You don't have to stand in line, as they said, when you go to the polls. Just put it in the lockbox. It's safe, it's secure, it's 24/7, it's taken care of for you, so you don't have to worry that your ballot's not going to get there because the postman may not have delivered it, or it got lost someplace along the line. All right. May not be what we're used to, but county has supplied these lock boxes. We've put them in. The business administrator has put up cameras, and as I said, it's going to be manned 24/7 on those cameras. So don't worry about mailing it in, just get it in there, it'll be safe. By the way, they're picked up periodically, and they're picked up by people from the county, workers from the county, or by a Republican and a Democrat at the same time. Your envelopes are put in a sealed green bag and taken to the county. So nobody really touches them other than they take them out and they put them in this bag. The bag is sealed, goes to the county, and then the county counters take care of them after that. So your ballot is safe. Okay. One other thing, you may have seen that on the website that the rabies clinic that was scheduled for October 3rd has been canceled due to the coronavirus. And as this is my last report as your township clerk, for those of you who haven't heard, of course, I'm retiring at the end of the month, September 30th. And this report has to be longer than Hamachu's, as this is my last chance.
Love it.
All right. I just want to thank all the residents that I have met over the years. It's been a pleasure to have served you and the town of Old Bridge. I want to thank a few people that I've worked with. So I'll start off with Chief of Police Bill Volkert, all the captains, the sergeants, the lieutenants, the detectives, traffic and safety. Thank you, Jimmy Erickson, for everything you've done for me over the years with the elections. Eileen, Jennifer, Beverly, Mary, Pat, the entire police department. They are all the best. Code enforcement, Pat Reardon, for all your assistance and your friendship over the years, and your staff as well. Thank you, Public Works. I know Kyle will miss his very favorite clerk. Casey, thank you so much, and the entire Public Works Department. The Recreation Department, Matt Mercurio. Thank you for all your assistance whenever I would call, and most of all for your friendship over the years. Thanks to Carol, Pat, and Lisa as well, the entire Finance Department. Beth, I know you'll miss me when it's time to open up all those professional service bids. Dawn, thank you for everything as well. Tax Assessor and his entire department for all their assistance on maps and streets over the years. Couldn't have done it without them. Engineering, the Health Department, the maintenance guys, always there whenever you needed them. They are truly the best. Planning and zoning ladies I have worked with over the years, especially Dawn. Mary from our TV studio, who tries to make us all look good on TV. Thank you, Mary. Thanks to the fire marshals that I've had to deal with so much, especially during the elections. Pam and the staff there, school officials who go above and beyond for me with the polling places, meeting us with the county and everything, making sure that they're always there whenever we call. You call, they make arrangements within a day to meet with us. And a special thank you to Tom Summers for his friendship, and to all his staff who always get my computer up and running again after I break it. I know it hasn't been easy. Thank you to the legal department. Mark and Ken, you've been great, especially Chris as well. Mayor Owen Henry, it's been a pleasure working with you. Thank you so very much. The administrative staff and the business administrator. Hamachu? Yes. I'm going to miss you. I'm not done. We've been through a lot over the years. We haven't always agreed on things, to put it mildly, but at the end of the day, we made it work, and we worked well. His door has always been open to me, and mine to him. Thank you, Hamachu. I think you'll miss me a little. I'll miss you. Thanks to my staff, Sue and Nicole, you're the best. Gretchen, I'm sorry we didn't really get to work a little longer as a team. You were hired, and then shortly thereafter, COVID struck. But thank you, it's been a pleasure. Ladies, you have been great, and my sincerest thanks to this council, who I will miss tremendously. I really will. You have been the very best council to work with. Need another minute. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you have done for me over the years. I am very grateful. I will miss you, and I will keep in touch with you, with many of you. You are the best. My life is richer for having you in it. I know Hamacho was getting nervous thinking this report just might be longer than his this time, but it wouldn't be complete if I didn't thank one more person. Rosemary Saraceno, Old Bridge's former clerk. I learned a lot from Rosemary as a boss, a person, and now a dear friend. Thank you so very much, Ro. And that's my report. You're up next, Hamacho. This is going to be a tough report to do.
I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the clerk's report.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg Bellet, second by Mr. De Palma.
Okay, Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Yes. Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscatty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes, thank you so much, Stella.
Thank you.
Report of the attorney.
Yeah, from a legal perspective, nothing, but I wanted to just thank Stella. It's well-deserved retirement, and all your cooperation over the years. It's been really fun.
Thank you,
So
Ken.
thank
It
you.
has been, yeah.
Okay. Next will be
You have to
administrative.
accept the report. of
Yes,
the attorney.
accept, we need a motion to accept Mr. Loja's report. Moved by
Second.
Dr. Greenberg, did you move it? Okay, and Mr. Murphy.
Okay. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
And Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Merwin? Yes. Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Piscatty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next is our administrative report, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Council President. I can tell you that, I don't know if her report is longer than mine or mine is longer than her, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get the clapping as many as you got, Stella. So you got something over me there. Administrative report for September 21st, 2020. Item number 1, 2 drive-in movie will be presented by the Department of Parks and Recreation. Wednesday, September 23rd, Grease, and on Wednesday, October 7th, Frozen 2. Register online, only 1 car per family is permitted. Item number 2, the ice arena will be offering ice skating lesson for all ages. Registration for all classes will begin on September 22nd. Item number 3, the fall brochure is now available on the Township website. The Parks and Recreation Department is now offering virtual classes such as coding, paint classes, crime scene investigation, and new mindful classes. Also, they are offering tennis and pickleball lesson on our municipal courts. Classes will begin the week of October 12th. Registration is now being accepted online. Item number 4, Parks and Recreation will be hosting pumpkin carving contest and display in the month of October. Please visit Township website for additional information about this and other activity being offered by the Parks and Recreation. Item number 5, Old Bridge Food Bank's partnership with the YMCA will continue and provide fruits and vegetables throughout the month of October. We would like to thank the community for its continued support. Item number 6, the Township Annual Tax Sale is scheduled for Wednesday, September 30th for open balances for 2019 for taxes, municipal cleanup charges, and utility charges from Old Bridge Municipal Utility Authority. Item number 7, 2020 census. The Planning Department is continuing to provide assistance to residents in filling 2020 census information. 2 outreach events will be hosted by the Township September 23rd between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m., September 27 between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. Both will be held at the Lawrence Harbor Beachfront parking lot in the rear of Hoffman's Pharmacy. Item number 8, the Mayor Office of Economic Development welcomed 3 new businesses to town in the month of September. Chick-fil-A on Route 9 South and American Plaza, KB's African and Caribbean Market at 22 Marawan Road, and Tractor Supply Company located on Englishtown Road. Item number 9, Coastal Cleanup Day. Old Bridge Township will be hosting International Coastal Cleanup Day on Sunday, September 27th. Volunteer groups from local organizations will be cleaning it up. The Lawrence Harbor Beachfront, Paul's Beach, Pirate Cove, and Cliffwood Beach. This group will receive $500 grant to help clean up our beaches in conjunction with the Mayor's Henry's Clean Team program. In 2019, they have collected over 150 bags of garbage and bulk items from the beach cleanup. Item number 10, the Mayor's Health and Wellness Council, in collaboration with All Around Old Bridge, hosted the Mayor's second annual run for our heroes, 5K, September 16th through the 20th as a virtual race. The township would like to thank the local businesses that had sponsored these events. All Around Old Bridge, Giuseppe Pizzeria, Max Challenge, Eat Elite, Hackensack Meridian, Dr. Tony DeLuca, and SETS Hybrid Training. Item number 11, the Culture Arts Committee is hosting free virtual webinars. Vocal Technique will be held on September 23rd at 7:30 p.m. Auditioning, pulling it all together, will be September 30th at 7:30 p.m. All webinar will be available to view on Old Bridge YouTube channel in October. For more information, residents can visit the township website. Item number 12, Sherwood South Junior Team won the Little League District Team Championship. Sherwood South District Senior Team also won the districts. They're heading to the sectional tournament. Congratulations to both teams. Wow, I don't know, Stella. They're close, they're close.
Yeah, well,
Stella,
they didn't stand up.
You're very sly, Mr. Shaw, putting that at the end so you get.
However, I got it. Stella, I want to congratulate you. I want to wish you best of the luck. I know we spent 22 years together, side by side. We work together. Yes, we disagree in some things, but we have agreed, and I think that you have made the clerk's office better.
Thank you.
And so I want to thank you for all your efforts over that many years and dedicated services. So
Thank you very
congratulations.
much. Thank you.
Anyone for any comment on the administrative report? Anyone want to make a comment on that? Anybody have a comment? I'm just going to add that that coastal cleanup that's scheduled for September 27th is a really good event. We were there last year, the year before, with the mayor, myself, Mrs. Walker, Dr. Greenberg, and it really was a very, very well-attended event, and it really did a very, very excellent cleanup. So anybody who's out there that would be interested, please come down. It's a very nice event. I take a motion to
Council President,
accept.
Council President.
Second.
Can I need to add an item. I'd like to approach the microphone. I'm sorry. Thank you, Council. Stella, I have a proclamation for you. It's going to read, "This is your life, Stella." Stella Ward grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Stella moved to Old Bridge Township to raise her family. Stella has 2 children, Melanie and Brandon, and 2 beautiful grandchildren, Gabriella and Charlie, which she speaks of often. Also, Stella has another love of her life, her pet bunny Gibbs. Stella began her career in Old Bridge as a township deputy clerk. She successfully earned her certified municipal register certificate as well as registered municipal clerk certificate. Stella officially became the Old Bridge Township clerk in 2012. Stella has worked with many councils, many mayors, administrative staff over the years. Throughout her tenure, conducted numerous council meetings, supervised many elections, and performed countless swearing-ins. After 22 years of dedicated service to the residents of Old Bridge Township, Stella has made the decision to start the next chapter of her life. Now, therefore, I, Owen Henry, Mayor of the Township of Old Bridge, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, along with the Township Council, fellow employees, friends, neighbors, and the people of Old Bridge Township do hereby extend our sincere thanks and appreciation to Stella Ward for her 22 years of service and commitment to the Old Bridge community. And we all wish you the best on your retirement, Stella.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And Stella?
See you again.
We also have a nice plaque
Oh,
for
it's very
Stella.
pretty.
Presented in grateful appreciation and recognition to Stella Ward for your 22 years of dedicated service to the residents of Old Bridge Township. The mayor's name is on here, council president, council's on here. Stella, keep this with you for the rest of your long and happy retirement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'd like to take a picture too. Okay?
Very much. I will. Yes, I will. Thank you very much.
Stay right here, we just want a picture of you, please. Just to celebrate the moment, Stella can have a picture for. Very nice, Stella. Okay, so now I'll ask for a motion to approve the administrative report.
Move it.
Second?
Okay, moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Mr. Pescetti.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, next will be our consent agenda. We will have to, now, consent number 2 has already been voted on, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this will be,
No, LL2 was voted on.
I mean, LL,
Yeah.
I meant to say license,
Right.
not, I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay, so that's in the Ls. Okay, so consent agenda, I'd like to make a motion, and we'll bring it out to the public, and then we'll take separations from the council.
Move it.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg or Mrs. Walker? Okay, second by Mr. Rizzoli. Okay, so we'll open it up to the public, and then if anyone has anything, anyone from the public wish to, any of the consent agenda items, speak on them, now would be the time to call for the consent agenda items only. I can't, you know what it is, I can't hear good with this thing. I can't. Have a tissue?
I think we can close it.
Okay, then we'll close the public portion. Seeing no phone calls, I'll now go to council and ask council for separations. Individually?
No separations?
Yeah, does anybody know separation? Okay, seeing no separations, then we can call for a vote.
Okay, Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
7 yes. 8 yes, I'm sorry.
Next will be ordinances for second reading. Ordinance number 2020-17, an ordinance of the Township of Old Bridge amending Chapter 250 of the Code of the Township of Old Bridge entitled Old Bridge Township Land Development Ordinance by amending 250-6 definitions and 250-55 parking and loading requirements. there anyone, council? Seeing none, could I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mrs. Walker, and we will now open it to the public. If there's anyone out in the public who wishes to be heard on this particular ordinance, they can call in now. I will close now the public portion.
All right. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
No.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Oh, yes.
8 yes, 1 no.
Next is ordinance number 2020-16, ordinance authorizing acceptance of deed of right-of-way dedication from Raceway Petroleum Incorporated for a portion of Block 6302, Lot 1.11, in the Township of Old Bridge, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey. Any counsel for a comment? Seeing no hands, I will ask for a motion.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Pescetti, second by Dr. Greenberg. Now we'll open it to the public. Anyone in the public wishing to be heard on this particular ordinance? I'm sorry, did you say something, Dave? Oh, I apologize. You wanted? Okay, all right. I really didn't see your hand. I'm sorry.
I mean, I only have a question.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll open it to the public, and if the public, no one in the public calls, then you will call on you next.
This was the second one. Are we doing skipping over to you?
I think we're good.
So we'll close the public portion. And Mr. Merwin, what was your question, please?
Why is, I wasn't at this last meeting, so I don't know why this is taking place, or this isn't any of their contaminated property, is it?
No.
This is not a contaminated property. It's part of the agreement that was reached to allow safety on the road expansion. Mayor, you had more detail on this one, right? Raceway Petroleum.
Yeah, as typical with these applications, we take the right-of-way along and this is along Poor Farm Road?
That's what I meant. They had an application before the planning board or zoning board?
Yes. And they're required to give the town that easement.
Yeah, that's what I need. Thank you.
Okay, you good? Okay. So we had a motion and a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin? Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, I'm just going to change this up. We're going to go to the liquor licenses first and leave the discussion ordinances for the end. Okay? So now,
LL2 was already done.
right,
so it'll be
LL2 is,
everything
right, so
except-
can we move these now as a?
Yep.
Okay.
Move it.
Okay, moved by Mr. Rizzoli, second by Mr. Merwin. Yes, as a package, except for the LL2, which we already did. Okay? Public, Stella?
Okay, open to the public.
I'm opening it up to the public. Anyone who has a comment from the public on any one of these liquor licenses, now would be your time to call in, please.
Is the number on the Facebook page?
Yes, it's up there. Mary put it up there.
Can you repeat the number, Stella, just so people know it?
Yes.
Is it up there, Mary, the graphic? Okay. Okay, great, perfect. Okay, so anyone who has a comment, you know, or concern on these licenses, now would be the time to call in. Thank you.
They usually don't. Usually we don't have a quorum. Okay.
Okay, seeing that no one in the public has called in, we'll now go to roll call.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
9 yes.
Next will be discussion ordinances, DO1, amending the code of the Township of Old Bridge, specifically Chapter 169, Festivals, Mass Gatherings. Mr. Lozier?
No, it's discussion.
Okay, we'll sit on the legal, that's why I'm just asking. Okay. Mr. Merwin?
I'm sorry, first I want to thank council members Walker and Sohar and Tom Garrett, the OEM director, along with Mike Petschauer for their tireless effort to bring this ordinance up to date. What it is it's the Grateful Dead Assembly ordinance that was, what was it, 1974 or something, 70, you know, something back there, some long, long time ago. And there was a lot of things in it that needed to be brought up to date. And we had about 5, 6 meetings with all the disciplines, the police, the clerk, the legal, you know, everybody, the EMS, fire. And we were very careful of not to step on anybody's toes. And this is what we've come up with, that we've discussed this in the past. It's already in an ordinance form, so I hope that we can move it for first reading tonight. And basically that's it. We've been waiting a while. It took, what, about a year? You know, once we got done with it, we had to give it to legal, and they had to go through it. And so I think we're pretty good. I think it's set. And if it's not, hey, we can fine tune it. You know, but I think we have it, and that was it. All right, so that's my part. I move it hopefully up for first reading, and if everybody's agreeable to it.
Does any of the other council members have any comments or questions? Okay. Anyone? No?
Second.
Okay, so Mr. Merwin, you made the motion. Mr. Rizzoli, you made a second?
Yes.
This is to bring it up to first reading?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, do we only vote once, or do we got to vote twice? That's always the question.
Well, it depends.
Kenny said he's going to do it the right way.
Well, it depends on who's here.
I know.
So it's once, right? One and done?
Next week, next meeting, it'll be first reading, right?
No.
This is first reading? Okay.
First, we vote to remove it from a discussion item and place it at first reading.
So you made the motion and the second to do it, to move it from discussion to first reading, okay?
Okay. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yeah.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we're going to make a motion, okay?
Now, a motion for first.
I'll make a motion for first
Second.
reading.
Okay, Mr. Merwin, Mrs. Walker?
And this is for first reading.
Yes,
Mrs. Brown?
please.
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Soha?
Yes. And as Mr. Merwin said, thank you, Councilman. Thank you for all the different disciplines that participated in this, because we needed them to, you know, to weigh in, and we wanted to respect them and their wisdom, and, you know, and make sure that this was a very viable kind of an ordinance. Thank you.
No, I gave the legal opinion, and it was perfected with that.
Okay, next will be discussion item number 2. Discussion on eliminating one of the 2 public portions of the Township Council meetings. Mr. Rizzoli.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to thank legal Mark Rizzoli with helping me with this. I think this brings us, up to par with every other municipality who basically has one public portion. Everything still remains the same. We go to 3 minutes. I think what started out as something good has deteriorated to where in the first few minutes you have a conveyance of information, then it goes into the slandering routine. I think that was evident this evening, and it's been something that's been going on. Right before COVID, we had a family come into this township, wanted to open a business, and we all witnessed what they went through with the slander. I think as a council, we owe it to the people who want to invest in our township as well as the residents. I know I've been getting feedback from residents who are afraid to call in. Like I said, this is basically what other municipalities are doing. Still, it would be in the beginning of the meeting where the public can speak. They can still comment on everything else as far as the council meetings go. And once again, I just want to thank legal for their assistance with this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And
Anyone?
I make a motion.
Okay, any other council member? Mr. Murphy?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Rizzoli. You can't be badgering, our residents at meetings and stuff. That's not unheard of. My only question I want to ask, which one are you gonna?
Use your.
Remove the end one?
Oh, sorry, we're removing the last one. We'll keep the one in the beginning, but remove the last one.
Okay, so they have to be here then?
In the beginning, yes, still remains the same. Everything still remains the same.
Okay. Are you through, Mr. Murphy? Okay, Ms. Brown?
Yeah, I was just wondering, who came up with this initial idea? I know it says here on the agenda that it's legal, but I'm just wondering if any council people initially came up with this idea?
Well, I just said I did.
Oh,
You should have said legal. That must have been obviously
yeah,
misprint.
Yeah, that's why I recognized Mr. Rizzoli first, because he was the initiator.
Okay. I mean, as a council person who sits here, I mean, I would agree that there are a lot of vitriolic things that get said during comments, but I mean, I don't think that's reserved to only the residents. So I can't say I agree with this. I may or may not vote with it, but I think as far as the residents of the town, I'm not sure how they feel. I'm curious to know, but that's it. Just wanted to know who decided this was a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pischetti?
Yeah, I don't particularly like taking away public comment for the public. It has been pretty nasty in the past, and I really don't like that. What I would really like is for the first public portion to be just for Old Bridge residents. Because what I've noticed is that in the past, we've had these people come from all over the state and all over the country, come in here, giving us their opinion. I don't really want your opinion. I want the opinion of Old Bridge residents. I don't want opinions from people from outside. We had that marijuana group, and we had the dog group. I mean, all these people, it was crazy. So I think as a council, I think, our public comments portion, I think the first one should be just for Old Bridge residents, and then leave the last one as it is. We did change the ordinance going back 3 years ago. We changed it to any subject matters, because some people had numerous subjects, and then they had to wait till the end, and some council, it gets late. It's late now. So I would not be in support to take away the public portion, but I would be in support of limiting the first public portion to just Old Bridge residents. Thank you.
Any other council member? Mr. Merwin.
Though I agree with Mark that some of these discussions have definitely taken, you know, they have specific targets, whether it's Mark, whether it's me, whether it's, you know, anyone, if there's a certain thing that somebody's against, you become the target. But, I mean, are we going to take away our second bite of the apple? And speaking to the public, are we going to get rid of the second council comment? You know, this council has always been, you know, for open government, for allowing people to speak, and I understand, you know, the reasoning behind it, but you know, unless we're going to eliminate it ourselves, you know, I'm surely not going to eliminate the public from participating in open, frank discussions. We have rules, and if they get out of line, I just think we have to take, you know, stronger methods on shutting them down. And that's it. You know, so though I understand the reasonings behind it, it's just not something that I can support at this time.
Anyone else have any comments, council comments? Mrs. Walker?
I believe I had asked legal once before about limited to Old Bridge residents. I believe I was told that we weren't allowed to do that, that it was open to the public and anybody from the public could speak, because I agree that two different occasions, our meeting went quite long from people that weren't even from Old Bridge, and I would prefer hearing from Old Bridge as well. I don't like to shut the public down, because I think I was present at the time when we increased the speaking time from 3 minutes to 5 minutes. If we eliminated the last section, then we would eliminate when it's open to any discussion, and they would only be allowed to discuss things that were on the consent agenda. So I think that maybe we just need to find a way that people that are really being abusive, that maybe they shouldn't be allowed to speak to 5 minutes, they should be able to be stopped if they are abusive. I think it's something we need to discuss.
Anyone else? Dr. Greenberg?
Yes. I think hearing from the residents is very important. I think it's very unfortunate how that public speaking has become. Instead of coming forward with a concern of theirs or how we can help someone, that it has come to be that they come up and say very derogative things and things that aren't true. So how do you defend yourself against something that's not true? And we're not supposed to engage with the public. They have a right to say whatever they want and then move on. So that's why we don't engage with them. Yet at the same time, I think this came about because we did a comparison to all the other councils. And yes, we did extend it one time from 3 to 5 minutes. And in fact, I remember very clearly, watch what you wish for. Really, we were advised not to do it. So I would say that we did it as a pilot. We tried it, and I think it goes on too long when you have a lot of speakers, and we do want to hear from everybody. And so from 5 minutes, reducing it to 3 minutes, I think would be a fair start to do that. And I think basically what happens now with the COVID, people are calling in. It's very unfortunate for them also to be on the phone, and we don't hear very well and hear the concerns. So speaking for 5 minutes when you have background and you're not really understanding them, it does take a lot of time. I want to put value into the conversation and really get the essence of what they want to say. So I think it would be a wise idea to move it from the 5 minutes to 3 minutes. They're allowed to speak. Before we changed, another change that we made, they were only supposed to speak on one topic. We opened that up. They can speak on anything, multiple topics. And I think that we could keep it that way, reduce it to the 3 minutes. You get time to talk on any consent agenda, and then maybe you know, if we go ahead and have at the end, I think the reason why they had at the end, there were a lot of commuters in this town. This is a bedroom community. They all commuted to New York. So they would get home late from the bus, from traveling, commuting. And so they weren't here in the beginning portion of the meeting. And in the beginning, when you speak in the beginning, you have to sign up. And at the end, you don't. So that's why that was put in place. Because if you go back, it used to be that you only spoke once. So we have made a lot of changes over the years, not only from when I was on the council, time before. And things change. We're not changing it to silence everybody. I think we all grow and learn from people when we hear what their concerns are. This is a town that has nearly 70,000 residents. We're 42 square miles. I want to hear from people. And a lot of times it's very simple, just directing them in, you know, which department they can get the information from. So I think if we start out, backtrack, go back to the 3 minutes instead of the 5 minutes. They can still speak on multiple topics. I think that's a fair start, and then, you know, we could reassess it. So this, as you know, we're just moving it up, and then next time we could all, you know, have an input, and then, you know, we'll vote and make a decision. So I think that would be, in my opinion, a good way to address everyone's concern. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an ordinance.
Except when there's an exception at the meeting itself. Yeah.
Fortunately, it's, John and Ms. Murphy? Please, Mike, John?
I don't want to disagree with you, but if you're only going to give them 3 minutes, how are they going to talk about more than one topic? I think the 5 minutes and more than one topic goes together.
Well, they have more than one time to speak.
They would have the 2 times.
Okay, we're not even going to eliminate one then.
No.
The first one we opened up to everything, didn't we? No, we haven't. The first one used to be limited to one. The last one you didn't talk on anything. There's a lot of this, I mean.
Yeah, no, we opened it up at the beginning for multiple topics for 5 minutes, and not including nationally anything on the consent agenda, ordinances for second reading, anything that there's a hearing to occur. So we kind of bring it that way. Now what Dr. Greenberg is saying is to reduce the time back to 3 minutes so that it's a little, little less time, but not at this point reduce.
Second one.
Right.
The first one's still
Council
3 minutes, right?
Both 3
Both.
minutes.
Both would be
Both for
3.
3 minutes.
Council President, if I may. Council President, if I may.
Yes, Mr.
I
Shaw.
think what we used to only have, and I've been here 27 years, so going through that, and we used to have meetings, public portion only at the end of the meeting, and it went until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock at night. It was just kept going
Very
and
late.
going because there was no limit. Then we did a 3 minutes rules, and was added in the beginning of the meeting, was a purpose was added so that some people doesn't have to wait until our business is over, express their concern about issues that they needed to address. And that's why the beginning portion, you signed up and everything. That has turned into writing, talking about anything and everything rather than specific concerns, so that, you know, people living in town, they come in here, express their concern, get the answers, and go home. And at the end of the meeting was more discussion. We also added curfew at 11 o'clock now. And sometimes we have to keep extending those things, which we don't like to. So I think I agree to start with the reducing the amount of time would be helpful. We keep the curfew at 11 o'clock. And I think that's going to be manageable. If you allow both sides, beginning of the time, I'm not sure whether you can limit to the residents only. I thought Mark said no. I recall that, him saying, no, you cannot limit, things. But you can, we'll have to massage that as we go along to see how this, but I think reducing time, if somebody has a simple concern to express, I think they can, and most of those can be addressed in 3 minutes timely.
And
I would just like to add one more thing. This isn't unique, 3 minutes. You go to the planning board, you go zoning board, you go to, MUA, it's 3 minutes. And there's a reason for that. One, because there's a lot of times when we do have a controversy issue in town, you want everyone to be able to speak. But if they went on 5, we'd be at our curfew. We're 5 minutes away from our curfew right now. So I think that's a reasonable start, and we could always reevaluate it.
Okay,
Mrs.
Brown, I believe you had your hand up as well.
And I would want to add this too. I think, and I've said this for years in the past, the way we speak up here sets a precedent as well, because there's cutting people off and saying things that are sometimes very biased. So I think what happens is we set a precedent that people can also come in here and do the same thing. So I think that would also be a good start. I do agree with the 3 minutes. I think when we instituted the 5 minutes, I really wasn't for that anyway, because again, we had the animal rights issue. We had like over 20 or 30 people who spoke 5 minutes at the beginning of the meeting and then again at the end. So I would agree that the 3 minutes is the better option. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Mr. De Palma?
Yeah, I think I agree. I think what we need to do is, we do need to figure out how to curtail some of it. I don't ever want to take away anyone's right to speak. We're here to hear from the residents and address all their concerns, whether they're residents of Old Bridge or residents of Marlboro or whatever it might be, especially when it has to do with our town. But at the end of the day, we do have business to get to, and with an 11 o'clock curfew, which is, according to the clock up here, about 6 minutes away, we do have to figure that out, because if we do have 20 people up here and they speak 5 minutes in the beginning, we're not going to get to the business at hand, and that's potentially paying bills and doing all that stuff that is our job as council. So I just want to make sure that we do look at it from the perspective of not only our residents and their rights, but also the fact that we do have a township to run, and we do have to make the concerted effort to ensure that we're making the residents happy, we're making the rest of the populace happy, and we're also doing the business that's necessary. So I do think that maybe bringing it down to 3 minutes, bring that on as a pilot, understand how that works, hopefully that addresses it, and then go from there. Because I do know my first couple council meetings was a plethora of public comment about the pet store. So I know that kind of took up a lot of time, and we were very, very close a lot of times to not getting the business that we needed to get done completed. So I do think that it's something that we do need to look at and address.
Okay, anyone else have any comment? Mayor Henry?
Yes, I'd just like to build upon what Councilman just said and Mr. Shaw. It's so important that the business takes place at these meetings, because that benefits every resident, whether they're here or not. So I would ask the council to consider maybe moving or juggling this so that the business of the town can be conducted when the council's fresh and you're focused. I mean, we did a consent agenda tonight. It was late. Not one question was asked. And I think there's a lot of things that should have been discussed in the consent agenda. A lot of good things happened, and that benefits everyone. So I know a lot of our meetings got sidetracked in the beginning before the business of the township was even conducted. And that's why the main reason we're here is to conduct business and to run this town. So I would ask the council to maybe consider moving that preliminary section maybe, or moving the consent agenda up, maybe eliminating the sign-up list so people don't have to rush here in the beginning. They can, so just throwing that out there to focus on getting the business of the town done. It benefits everyone.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. Yes, Mr. Councilman Merwin?
Yes. Maybe we can put out a questionnaire to the 9 council members, top 3 ideas, and at the next meeting we have something to go with it and go with that.
Okay.
I mean, listen, Mark brought it up, and you know, sorry, you know, we shut it down, but good things come out of it. So,
Mr. Lozier?
Yeah, first, you can't exclude people that aren't in the town. It's an open public meeting. That's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. But this is council's meeting. This is council's agenda. You set the terms. You can limit speech to a minute, 30 seconds. There's no requirement, so it is your meeting, and you set the rules for it. So, and everybody's expressed it. This is to get business done. And so you can change the order in which you do it. You can limit that open, the public speech time. You moved it to 5. You've experienced that. You opened it up to as many issues as they want to speak about during that 5 minutes. You can change that. And again, folks, you can always tweak it again. If something doesn't seem right for whatever reason, you can always change it again. But it is your meeting, and you can make those changes, And all I would ask is that once you do your questionnaire or whatever you're going to do, is that you would have to give that to us so that we can make the modifications, because you can't vote on an ordinance unless you have an ordinance in front of you. So if you don't give it to us to change it, you can't vote on it. It just delays it, that's all. But it should be it'll be simple to amend because we already have an ordinance. It's just a matter of changing certain verbiage.
Okay.
All right?
Mr. Murphy?
I don't think Mr. Peschitti said.
On your microphone, please. Thank you.
I don't think Mr. Peschitti said have only Old Bridge residents. He said at the first one have
Right,
Old
no,
Bridge
but you can't
residents.
do that.
You
You
can't even
cannot,
split
no.
it up and have
No.
everybody else? Okay.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yeah, and I would like that in writing from legal. We have 2 portions.
I
Now,
understand that.
Most municipalities only have 1.
I understand
We have
that.
2.
I understand that.
And
only one.
because we have 2, I believe that we can limit one of those for Old Bridge residents.
I disagree with you, and I'll give you
All
that.
right, I would like to see that in writing.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll get
any-
on the record now, and I'll give you it in writing.
Okay. Is there anyone else, any other council member at this point have a question? I do have a suggestion, as council president and vice president, Mrs. Walker, I think maybe we should meet with the mayor, Mr. Shaw, the clerk's office, and come up with what we feel perhaps would be given, get a survey out to you, to all of you, asking you your opinion, and then her and I will meet with you, and we'll see what we can come up with, and try to tweak this thing where it's a balance between recognizing and respecting our citizens and also getting the work of the town done. So I mean, this is my suggestion. I think that would probably be the best way, because there's 9 of us, 9 opinions, which is great, but we need to break it down a little bit, and I think that would be the best way. So if we could get a survey out to the
Yeah, we'll get the email to all the council members
Right.
with some,
Okay.
some questionnaires, and then we'll collect those.
All right, is that okay with the majority, everybody in the council? Is that all right? Okay, very good. So then we'll send the survey out, and then we'll come up with a scenario, and let's see where we go from there.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Okay.
No, we still have stuff, I think.
We have a curfew.
Public comment still. You cannot adjourn. You have to wait to hear from the public.
Yeah, okay.
We can change that. It's a smart thing, like they said, we need to do our business.
Okay, now at this point, we will open it up to public, okay? If there's anyone in the public, who wishes to be heard, now is the time, okay? So if you have a public comment, please call in now. Thank you very much.
Agent logged off.
It was on.
And we have to make a motion to continue? We have a curfew. So you have to make a motion to continue the meeting.
Agent logged in. 2107. Feature code 10 deactivated.
Okay, because you were on the entire time.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Feature code 10 activated.
So they can call in if they
All right, now to log off, what do I hit?
do that,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
that, so you go backwards.
Oh, okay. I don't think anybody's calling in. It's... Oh, wait a minute, there's somebody calling in. No.
There's an incumbent.
Okay, all right. Hi, welcome to the meeting. Hello?
Hello?
Hello, welcome to the meeting.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
This is Terry Barron from Cheesecake Village calling.
Hi, Terry, how are you?
Fine. Very quick, I just wanted to thank the councilmen and their workers for the beautiful job they did on our sewers. And we needed it for a long time, and we appreciate the work they did for us. Okay. So thank you very much.
Right. Thank you for calling in, Terry.
And good luck, Stella.
Oh, thank you very much, Terry. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good night. Have a nice night.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
Okay.
Motion to close the public.
Wait. Okay, wait. Okay, we're going to close the public portion. All right, and one other thing, we'd like to recognize our new clerk that's coming in and say welcome to you. And yes, yep, congratulations.
Sir,
okay?
after 3 hours, she's still
and you're. It was a marathon night, but I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion.
Second.
Motion to
By
adjourn.
Mrs. Walker, second by Mr. Rizzoli. Roll.
Who made it, Mary? And who else? Okay. Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. De Palma?
Yes, and thank you, Stella.
Thank you. Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Merwin?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Piscatty?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzoli? Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
And President Soha.
First day of
9
fall.
yes
Good
to
luck,
adjourn.
everybody.